his debut, Jarno Uppbeat wins at Spa.
It's Martinez in Montreal. David beats Goliath.
It's a true underdog story. John Evans wins at Mexico.
And it's Super Sam Corby who takes the PlayStation Championship.
FRA Ronhard takes his first WOR Championship. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jake Benham is a two-time WOR champion.
Dobbin around the outside operated line shadow is contact again. Ronhard is around.
Melanie, surely is going to win here at Abu Dhabi. He does.
16 races across 5 continents. From Brazil to Belgium and Bahrain to Britain. Soon this story starts. Across 3 platforms, hundreds will begin the quest. The quest in search of glory and the right to be called a WOR champion. Lights out, and we're racing in Season 12. I'm good at that, aren't I? There we go. Terrible start. But anyway, welcome along, folks. Sorry, we muted everyone there. To the opening round of the season. Sorry, the 7th round of the season, not the opening round. Here at the Italian Grand Prix in Monza. Ginger Andy here alongside me, Dan Field for this one. And Dan, it's a fantastic circuit, this one. The Italian Grand Prix at Monza, the Speed Cathedral, the fastest circuit on the calendar. Should be a cracker.
Yeah, absolutely. This track is essentially straights and chicanes. It is so quick. Lots of opportunities to overtake for these guys, and of course, I've seen some of the most legendary moments in Formula One history around this circuit. So I'm really hoping that we can see some good action here tonight.
Yeah, we should do. Wait till you see the weather, folks, that we have coming up for qualifying. It's looking very, very interesting. Before we do that, let's have a quick look at the driver's standings. Alvaro Caraton climbing to the summit of the standings after that fantastic victory last time out in Canada. Nicolas Longuet second now in the standings on 75 points. If you remember back, he was disqualified from that race for not serving a pit stop. Shanaka Clay is third on 51 with Thomas Ronhard fourth on 41. Luke Smith is next on 38 with Barry Burmand on 37. Jake Benham on 33. And 3 drivers in the 20s. Ruben Pedreño, 29. Tomek Paradzis, 27. And Danny Beresney on 25. As you can see, the calendar on that right-hand side, we've gone past 6 rounds now. And we arrive here in Italy before heading to Bahrain and Mexico. As we now, probably, Dan, you could say, we hit the middle part of the season.
Yeah, we're essentially just up towards the halfway point of this calendar. 16 rounds in total. We're now round number 7, so drivers are really starting to find their groove in league racing post F1 esports, and now we're really going to start to see some of the hottest competition we're going to have all season, I'd say.
Yeah, it's beginning to hot up in the championship battle, so without further ado, I think we should hop into the qualifying action, and as I promised, it is wet conditions greeting the drivers as they go into the first part of qualifying. Most of the drivers out there on the wet tyre. Tino Nakarun and Kieran Lutt out there on the inters, of course. It would be those from the Northern Europe testing out the intermediate tyres. Of course, Kieran Lutt from Estonia and Tino Nakarun from Finland. They like driving in tricky conditions, don't they? They'll be used to the ice and the snow, so why not jump out there in a set of inters and take a few risks and slide around?
Yeah, I actually think Keelan's recently secured a Finnish citizenship, if I'm not mistaken. So we could consider them both to be the flying Finns of this grid, and well, the first times at the moment coming out on the wet set tyres. but certainly not deterring the likes of Naukarinen and Keaton Lutt, despite Lutt's an unfortunate invalidation. I think Tino's actually just coming to the line now. We'll see where his time stacks up in comparison to Paranchish's.
Wow.
And yeah, that's sort of showing where the tyres are really at their best at the moment. I think it is firmly wet conditions here.
Yeah, wet conditions, no doubt about it. 6 seconds the gap between the tyres as Alvaro Caraton, our championship leader, slots into second position, just a tenth or so behind Tomek Paradis. But if you're new, folks, to WR, as you last saw Zeldrum now, lowers the bar further with a 29.6. Just want to remind you guys of the qualifying format. We do have a Q1, Q2 and Q3 situation in the top tier here in WOR on PC. So we'll have a first session, the bottom 5 from P20 through to P16. The slowest 5 will drop out. Then we will decide the grid from P15 to 11 as they drop out in Q2. And then the top 10 will fight it out for pole position before we go racing straight after that for what should be a fantastic 7th round of the championship here at Monza. But Dan, we've had a lot of wet conditions so far this season. The drivers have had their fair share in the wet conditions, and it looks like it's continuing here today at Monza. The range is following WOR everywhere we go, and we even had a sprinkle in PSGL in the desert the other night.
Yeah, that was certainly a sight to behold. But I think in Italy it is a bit more common than in the scorching hot desert. Tomek Paradis has improved on his initial timing. Now he jumps to the top, as well as Piotr Stahelek going ahead of Longue. So times are beginning to fall down quite heavily. Drivers do tend in the wet weather conditions to fuel up the car a little bit extra, go for a few more runs, because they tend to be a little bit quicker when they've got a slight bit of wear applied to them. So drivers do a lot longer stints on a set of the wet tyres than they would on the softs. You know, they normally do 1 or 2 laps tops. So a lot of these guys, they really do. It's a lot about just keeping it on the road, I'd say, in these conditions. A lot of mistakes also come out around here. I was just riding on board with Laverty, and as I say that, he's made a mistake and he's invalidated at Ascari. So the wet conditions really proving to be quite difficult for some drivers. But John Evans, he's right in the thick of it at the moment. He's just come through the second sector now.
Yeah, just gone through the Rettifilio chicane and now into the 2 Lesmos, the 2 right-handers. Very easy to understeer wide through them. Usually you set the car up, you know, to have as little downforce as possible, to shoot down the straights, as little drag as possible, which obviously leads to less downforce. And obviously in the wet conditions they might actually turn that up a little bit. Depends of course what the weather is expected to be for the race, as John Evans now goes through the most challenging part of this racetrack, the Ascari chicane. You've got to thread the eye of the needle through there. So easy to invalidate the lap. There is really only one quick racing line through that section of the lap, but John Evans survives that section for now and comes up to the final corner, the Parabolica, and just patient on the throttle, runs it right out to the extremities of the racetrack, takes a little bit of the white line and then comes across the line. What's John Evans' opening effort going to be? He goes 11th fastest, a 1 minute 29.942. Plenty of drivers dipping into the 29's early doors. John Evans goes 11th quickest.
Yep, of course, it's not about being the number 1 driver in Q1, although Alvaro Caraton has other ideas. It's about making it out of the bottom 5, and those drivers at the minute are Tino Naukarinen, Jack Laverty, Liam Parnell, Keaton Lutt and Ika Baenya, but none of those guys in the bottom 4 have set laps at the moment, and Naukarinen's time has not been representative of his true pace. So really at this point it is anyone's game as to where they are going to all end up in qualifying. I'm just trying to see, I think it's now a Williams 1-2 if I'm not mistaken, because Shinaka Clay has managed to jump Paradis, and as I say that, Lenny Papinta making his return to Tier 1 since I believe Russia. He slots himself just 9 thousandths ahead of the recently announced Williams driver of Clay.
Yes, so yeah, great to have Shinaka Clay here, and of course in new colours. We didn't expect to see him in Williams. We're so used to seeing him in the Aston Martin colours, but there he is in the brand new Williams colours, having made that move across to Williams Esports. So congratulations to him on that move, and hopefully it will be the start of something very special for Shinaka Clay. It remains to be seen how he gets on. Jack Laverty, by the way, he did stay in the bottom 5 with that latest run. Let's see how his teammate Liam Parnell can get on. So Laverty went and did a 30.5. Let's see how Parnell fits in as he comes round the Parabolica now. But great to see plenty of drivers out there doing runs, as Dan alluded to earlier. In the wet conditions, you tend to put a bit more fuel in the car and push for extra lap times, and that gives us more enjoyment on the racetrack to commentate over, as Parnell sees the line and does a 29.7 and goes P12. Immediately beaten though by Miklasic and Martinez, who have gone 11th and 12th, so down to 13th now goes Liam Parnell. Just Kieran Lutt, there is yet to do a time. Let's see if we can pick him up. Here he is, but he's not going particularly quickly on this latest run. I think it will keep him in the bottom 5, so some early pressure for the likes of Jack Laverty, Kieran Lutt, maybe even Leroy Brown as well. Obviously we've not seen a proper time from Tino Nakarunen just yet, as his first lap was on a set of the intermediate. Same for Kieran Lutt as he crosses the line now. He's on the wets now, but he only goes ahead of Tino Nakarunen. So work to do down at McLaren for Kieran Lutt. How is his fellow countryman Tino Nakarunen getting on? 1.8 up through the first sector, as you'd expect, given he's now on the quicker wet tyres for these conditions at the minute, as it continues to pour down here in at Monza. And Tino Nakarunen 59.3 now through the middle sector, and looking good, as someone has gone for a spin. Who's that?
John Evans. John Evans has spun down at Ascari, and he was 5/10 up on his previous lap. Would have seen him safely into the next part of qualifying for the time being. If Tino Nakarunen now improves, it's actually going to knock him down into the bottom 5. We'll see the Finn coming out of the final corner now, the Parabolica curve. We'll see what he can do on his set of the wet compound tyre, and it's going to be securely into P7. And yeah, that knocks Evans down into the bottom 5, and I imagine he's got quite a bit of damage. It was a hard hit onto the inside wall off the exit of the corner, really easy to do, and especially in the wet weather conditions. He's still got some time left on the board. About 6 minutes left to go in the session, so if he can get that damage repaired and get back out on circuit, it's not all over for him.
Here's Baena crossing the line now, and he moves out of the bottom 5 and up into 10th place with a pretty solid 129.4. So that drops Liam Parnell back into the danger zone, and he is in the pits at the minute. Jack Laverty, meanwhile, is on a lap, but he's not really improving at the minute, and in the end decides he's going to go into the pits. So not looking good at the minute for either McLaren driver or John Evans, or both Red Bulls really struggling. John Evans and both McLarens at the minute. Kieran Lutt is out there though, and is going again on a fresh set or a fresh lap on those wet tyres. So let's see what he can do this time round, Dan. He needs to improve.
Yeah, he's not got much fuel left in that car, you can see. Well, actually can't see without the telemetry on, but he's blinking red on the fuel lights, so it's not looking too great for him if he doesn't get this lap down. And unfortunately for his previous best, he's 900ths down on his previous time, so it's not looking too good for Kieran Lutt. But there are still 2 more sectors for him to get this right. Even so, through the Lesmos, he's not looking confident at all. I think now he is going to be backing off. I'm not too sure if the wet tyres are still suited to the conditions, because I think the Inters might be a bit quicker. I'm seeing drivers coming out of the pit lane, well, just fitting the tyre in the pits at the moment, and the rain has certainly gotten a lot lighter. Kieran Lutt, he's found 0.4 of a second on this lap alone, but even so, that's not enough to get him out of the bottom 5. That'll at least see him ahead of Laverty and possibly ahead of his teammate Leroy Brown, as here he comes down the back straight in towards Parabolica, the last fell swoop of the wheel, braking just before the 50-meter board and off the exit now. Got to get the traction down early. It's so difficult even in the dry. It's even worse in the wet. And there he is into the pit lane. So he's going to try and boot up and go once again as Ronhaar goes top of the standings.
Yeah, good lap there from Thomas Ronhaar. First man into the 0.8s then. So 28.8 from Thomas Ronhaar. Is the track beginning to improve? It certainly looks like it, because Primoz Miklasic and Tom Martinez have gone out there on a set of the intermediate tyres. So with 4.5 minutes to go, is the order going to take quite the shake-up? It certainly looks like it as we get towards the end of the session. So a few drivers who might have felt confident initially on their opening runs on the wets might have to go again now on a set of the intermediate. Tom Martinez out there, or Zildrum is out there, Jack Laverty and Miklasic all out there on outlaps at the minute. Jeffrey Ritchie also now coming out of the pits on a set of the intermediate tyres, and I think we're going to see a few more doing the same. What about Shinaka Clay? Is he on a lap? He is on a lap and continuing at the minute on the wet tyre. So at the minute he's happy to continue in those. I wouldn't be surprised though if he bails out and comes into the pits, even if he is on an improvement. Where is Miklasic? He's crossing the line now. Let's keep an eye on him then. So let's see how he can get on a set of the intermediate, and let's see if it is an improvement, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. And if drivers aren't out on the set of the Inters, and that does end up being the quicker tyre, but even so, Miklasic locking up heavily in towards the first corner, although he looks confident through the second part, turn number 2. So possibly this could be a good improvement. We'll get our real indicator as he crosses the first sector split line. He's just coming through Curva Grande now and up towards one of the many chicanes around this track, but he is slower. He's 2/10 down on his previous best, so I don't think the Inters are quite suited to these conditions. But as drivers put rubber down and as they continue on their laps, and that dry line is going to continue to form, and the intermediates are going to come into their prime, so it's going to be difficult for Michalowicz this time by to get an improved run, but we'll see through the second sector split, which is just about to come up to ahead of the Ascari chicane, and we'll really get to see if this lap is worth completing or if he's going to have to try and abort. And I think, yeah, he's backing off. He's already aborting on this lap, so he's going to gear up and go again.
Yeah, so it's just going to be a waiting game for these tyres to come into the window, but I don't think it'll be too far away. Tom Martinez behind him on the road, though, finding a 10th and a bit through the first sector on his intermediate tyres. So there is time to be found out there. Ulasios Yeldrum is out there too, but he's only just starting his lap, so we'll stick with Tom Martinez for now. How's his middle sector looking? 3/10 up. So the intermediate tyres beginning to come into the window for Tom Martinez. Jack Laverty also out there. Is he in front of him on the road? Nope, he is not. So we'll go back and keep an eye on Tom Martinez then as he looks to try and take that Mercedes into the second part of qualifying. 2 minutes and 10 to go. Almost everyone, apart from Thomas Ronhart, on the racetrack at the minute. But Ronhart is making his way out soon. I'm pretty sure of it. Here is Tom Martinez. Let's see how much of an improvement he can make across the line. Moves into P9 and finds nearly 4/10 of a second. So there's certainly signs of improvement coming early doors here on the intermediate tyre.
Absolutely. Ulasios Yeldrum, always impressive in qualifying, has found 4/10 in his first 2 sectors. He's now got the final sector, sector 3, which is essentially just Ascari and Parabolica. We'll see what he can do as down in towards the braking zone he goes. The Turkish driver currently down in 14th position at the minute, but if he finds 4/10, he could see himself well up into the top 5. As now to come up towards the line, here's the real indicator of the Inters are quicker, and that shows us exactly that 9/10 of an improvement on the set for the intermediates.
Wow, what's going on at the final corner there between, I think it was Laverty and was it Jeffrey Ritchie, I think? Yeah, it was. Sorry, Dan. But at the final corner there, Ritchie and Laverty were going side by side, banging wheels coming out of the Parabolica, fighting for track position. Ritchie got it, and Laverty, I think, bailed out into the pits, and I think he's qualifying as a result is over. So, not too sure what went on between those two, but it obviously not went well as Longy crosses the line in the Alfa Romeo and goes quickest of all with a 28.2 by quite some margin, half a second quicker than some of the others out there. That's a super lap from him.
So difficult to keep track of all the drivers who are coming up towards the line now. I think Martinez is going to be next up, aside from the Haas of Room. Pedreño goes into 4th. Martinez goes up into 5th. So times are coming thick and fast. John Evans has backed out on his run. There's a Ferrari up to the line. That's Ika Baena with a 27.8. So time still proceeding to come down. I believe it's Ronhart on an outlap. He's beginning his run. Both McLarens are in the final sector. Currently in the drop zone is Keaton Lutt and Leroy Brown. Lutt's going to be the first one to the line. Where can the Finn get himself? As coming up towards the finish line, he goes into 5th. Leroy Brown, what about him? He goes into 3rd as the clock strikes 0. If you're not on a lap, you're not allowed to start one. And now this is where Q1 really heats up.
Parajas needs a lap. He's in 16th and in trouble. Not anymore. He goes quickest of all and pushes himself through. Shinaka Clay now in a bit of bother. He's leaving it quite late as Jeffrey Ritchie shoots out of the danger zone. Stachulek's in bother. He sees the line now. He's currently P18. He's now up to P2, and now Lenny Pinter drops into the bottom 5, as is Nakarinen. He now crosses the line and goes P5, knocks Ronhart into the bottom 5. So Ronhart needs a lap and needs it now, but he's quite far round the racetrack. He's not quite ready to complete a lap. Is Shinaka Clay out there? He is. He's currently down in 18th. The man, 3rd in the championship, really needs to put a lap in, as does John Evans. He's not as far round though as Shinaka Clay, so we'll stick with the Williams racing driver now. Alvaro Canaton, his teammate, goes quickest of all. A 1:27.3. The lap time is needed badly from Shinaka Clay, and he comes across the line now. Currently P18, moves up to P2. What a lap from Tom Martinez as well in there, by the way, as he improved massively. Here comes Ronhart. He's in bother. Sees the line now. Can he get himself out of the bottom 5? He can. John Evans, can he do it? Yes, he can. And now we watch for the 2 McLarens. Leroy Brown needs an improvement, as does Kieran Lutt. Up to the line now. Lutt down in 19th place. Can he knock Baena out? He can. Can Brown knock anyone else out? Not too sure. As he crossed the line, I'm not sure if there was an improvement.
I think there was from Leroy Brown. We'll get confirmation as to who the bottom 5 was at, now exactly in the bottom 5. That would be Ikabaenya, Primoz Miklavčić, Leroy Brown, Liam Parnell and Jack Laverty. So those 5 all eliminated in qualifying. And Leroy Brown, his previous attempt to his final lap put him in 3rd. So everybody found an improvement to overtake him and jump in. It was Alvaro Carreton in the end topping qualifying. But what a way to end Q1.
Yep, really crazy end. It was all about making sure you were one of the last over the line, and Carreton got the job done. He's P1, Lenny Pipinter up there too. Shinaka Clay makes it a Williams 1-3. Tom Martinez, great effort from him. Paradis, Smith, Longy, Ronhar, Statulik, Evans, Ozeldrum, Kieran Lutt, Jeffrey Ritchie, Tino Nakarin and Ruben Pedreño all make it through. The rest will have to wait to the race to make some progress. But well, Dan, what a session that was. Dramatic conclusion. It took a while to get going with the wet conditions, but in the end, as you said, 1 minute a driver was completing a lap. His last effort was enough for top 3, top 4, and at the end, out went Leroy Brown in the bottom 5, and real shame for him, real shame for McLaren.
Yeah, I think it was all about getting the best of the conditions, and unfortunately for those guys, they just came out a bit too early, set their times when the inters weren't fully calibrated into the session, and it was end game for them. They are eliminated in Q1. Q2 is about to get underway, but I think it's going to be a little bit more clear-cut as to who the top 10 is, because we're not going to see those drying conditions unless it goes from intermediate to full slick weather. But I think, yeah, it's getting underway now, and it looks like intermediate conditions.
Looks like it. Let's jump in and have a look at those conditions then, as the drivers are about to make their way out onto the racetrack. A few of them already dashing down that pit lane and keen to get out there. And Ulas Ozeldrum, one of them, as you can see him coming out the garage now, but I think the first man out onto the track was either Nicholas Longy or Alvaro Carreton. It was, no, it was neither. It was Shinaka Clay that was the first out of his garage and making his way down the pit lane in these intermediate conditions. So let's see then, will the track dry further? And will we get some dry running at the end of the session? Will it be another scamper to the end of the session? Or will it be intermediates for the foreseeable? We'll have to wait and see, Dan.
Yep, everyone is coming out on circuit aside from John Evans. He's remaining in the pit lane, but we have 14 runners all on circuit at the moment. Shinaka Clay just saw himself squeak through qualifying. You know, he was in the bottom 5 right until the death of it, until he managed to set his final lap and see himself into the top 15. But now he's solidifying himself early on, trying to get his run done as quick as possible, and he's just coming in towards the final sector now. So hopefully we can see some good laps from these guys in Q2. Looking like it's slightly easier conditions to manage with the intermediates being in effect. But who knows, we could see some dry running later on.
Yeah, every chance we will. You never know in WR, the way the weather's been this year. Anything could happen in terms of the weather, and the drivers just need to be ready for whatever situation comes their way. But here is Shinaka Clay then, getting his qualifying 2 campaign underway. Over the line he comes and makes that run down towards turn number 1. It's a very long run, one of the longest runs on the calendar from the grid to the first corner, and he attacks the Retifilio chicane now, and it's quite a clunky, challenging, clumsy chicane where the drivers can often come to blows, but Shinaka Clay on his own gets through there, no problem at all. Through Curva Grande now, high speed, flat out right-hander of turn 3, and now on his way down to the De La Roggia chicane, very similar to the first chicane, but you go left first rather than right first, but similarly slow and tricky chicane to get right. Now into the 2 Lesmos, which are pretty identical to one another, 2 right-handers through the first one of turn 6, and now into the second one, turn 7, plenty of curb on entry and on exit. Would be opening up the DRS in dry conditions, but he's not at the minute, as he now makes his way down the straight underneath the old racetrack where the banking sits, and then through the Ascari chicane, just point it into the left-hander, ride as much of the curb as your car will let you get away with, slide through the exit, and then down the back straight towards the Parabolica. Turn 11, the final corner on this racetrack, blasting down there. Look out for the meter board on the left hand side, brake just before the 50-metre marker, swing the Williams into the right-hander, edge it out to the exit of the racetrack, and then blast up to the line. Shortest route as always to cut their circuit. Shinaka Clay 127.7 to open the qualifying session, immediately beaten by Nicholas Longy.
Yeah, by quite some margin as well, about 0.5 of a second dropped on his head. Impressive stuff from Longuet. Jeffrey Ritchie manages to split the pair of them. Tomac Paragic is amongst many drivers coming up towards the line. There's an Alfa Romeo of Luke Smith next. He goes fourth. And it's going to be Paragic with the next valid lap as he crossed the line to go ahead of Nicolas Longuet. Of course, these two come into blows multiple times so far this season, and they're not far apart in qualifying. Tom Martinez is next up to the line, and he goes into ninth. Thomas Ronhaar goes into P1 with a 1 minute 27.156. So I think that's the first run of laps done, unless there are other runners trying to go for push laps. There's two Alpha Tauris and Stahalek out on circuit, which I think invalidated their runs. But Thomas Ronhaar out the gates early, and he's doing really nice.
Yep, really good lap there from Thomas Ronhaar to get himself to the top of the order earlier on in this second part of qualifying. So a bit of pressure eased on him should the weather conditions stay the same. Stachulek though is under pressure and is on the ragged edge, sliding the back of the Ferrari through the exit of the second Lesmo, and boy, he needs this lap, having invalidated that first one. So Stachulek now, the Polish driver, makes his way underneath the old racetrack and now does a 58.0 through the middle sector, so he needs a lap then. Let's see how good a lap it will be, but it certainly looks like it's going to be a valid one. He might even pick up a nice little slipstream as Nicolas Longuet on his second run does a 1:27.1 to displace Thomas Ronhaar. So the drivers going again and again and again at this stage of the qualifying session. A few drivers coming into the pits. Let's see what Stachulek can do this time by. As he comes up to the line now, takes the shortest route, really cutting the track as much as he can. Goes P7, 1:27.493, and that eases the pressure on him ever so slightly.
Tomac Paragic, meanwhile, has just done a lap as well. Of course, two fellow countrymen, Stahalek and Paragic, and I know that they're pretty good friends, probably in a call together at the minute, discussing different strategies as Lenny Papinto is about to come to the line. We'll see what he can do. He sees himself go into 5th position ahead of Shinaka Clay, who also found an improvement on their lap. So the bottom 5 is beginning to take shape. It's Keegan Luck, Tom Martinez, John Evans, who's on an out lap at the moment. We haven't seen him in Q2 so far. Alvaro Carreton and now Karinen both invalidated their attempt number 1 and number 2. So lap times coming out thick and fast, but I think we're going to start to see a slight bit of a lull unless there are runners on lap still.
Yeah, well, John Evans is about to begin one, so let's see. We're going to get the first indicator in Q2 of what John Evans is capable of. His teammate is the slowest of the time so far with that 1:28.0. Let's see what John Evans can do around this Monza circuit as he makes his way through that first chicane. Should be a race coming ahead, Dan, with plenty of overtaking opportunity.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. DRS enabled, so we are going to get some dry running at some point. So we had a scramble in Q1. It looks like we're going to have a late scramble at the end of Q2 as well. Could be last man across the line again, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. Tino's already fitted a set of the soft compound tyres, so either he's coming out early or he's just gearing up. He's not planning to do another intermediate run, but surely at this point the Inters aren't going to be in their best nick. Still is raining out on track, which does confuse me, and it is certainly still wet out there, so I'm a bit confused as to why the DRS has been enabled this time, but we'll see what Evans can do as he's coming through the second sector now. And well, Codemaster's saying he's going purple. We know that that can be a bit unreliable, but we'll see what John Evans has to say about it. As an invalidation off the exit of Ascari. Thomas Ronhaar goes quickest, the first 26 of the day we're seeing, and it's a quite emphatic one actually, a 26.6. Yeah. So yeah, I think dries might be the tyre soon. Yeah,
he's certainly not squeezed into the 26s, has he? He's blasted right into the mid-26s with a really good effort there. So dries might be the tyre soon, and they are the tyre of choice for this man. Tino Nakarinen, he was first out on the Inters at the start of this first part of qualifying, and he's the first out on the dry tyres in the second part of qualifying. So no hanging around here from the Finnish driver. Let's see what he can do as he just makes his way around the track gingerly and carefully. It's just all about building up a bit of confidence, Dan, isn't it, at this stage? You don't want to go out there and stick it in the barrier and end your session. You end up looking a bit silly. So Nakarinen just getting a feel for things.
I still think it's a bit early. Maybe a set of the mediums would have been smart to come out just to test the waters, ironically, on the set of the dry tyre. But yeah, you see him weaving down the straight and how much he's having to turn the wheel. He's getting very little response from the car. So tyres not the grippiest at the minute. We'll see him off the exit Parabolica, where it's one of the trickiest traction zones on the circuit, you know, to get the power down, because you need all of it for this main straight. And we'll see what now Karinen can do on his first attempt, and first attempt on the dries for anyone, as he's got a clear track in front of him. Only Ronha and Evans remain on the circuit at the minute. But the run into turn 1, no, it's not dry conditions whatsoever. Now Kurinen skids over the curbing, and an invalidation at turn 1.
Yeah, not working at all well there for Nakarinen. Let's see what John Evans, and look, he's really struggling. I think he's overheating the intermediate tyres, so I don't think it's really either tyre at the minute. Look at Evans sliding into the pit lane, not enjoying that at all. He was sawing at the wheel going through the Parabolica, and yeah, he's had enough of those tyres. But interestingly, Nakarinen not enjoying his tyres either. So are we at a stage where you don't want to be in either tyre? It's not a good window for either of them, and anyone out there at the minute with a good lap time on the board will be sitting quite happy, and anyone without one on the board watching the clock tick down might be a little bit concerned, and Nakarinen is one of them.
Yeah, and Keelan Lutt seems to be a bit concerned at the minute. He's out on a set of the medium compounder tyres, so it's a bit confusing as to where we are at the minute. I have a slight break in my voice, apologies about that, but through Lesmo 1 and 2, yeah, he's just not looking the most confident driver out there on circuit, and he completely missed his entry in towards Lesmo 2, so yeah, drivers are struggling already, and the rain is still coming down. Alvaro Caraton's also venturing out on a set of the soft compounder tyre, so I'm at a complete loss here, Andy, as to what the protocol is, because maybe it's not even going to get dry enough for slick tyres to be effective enough to beat the Inters.
Well, if it carries on like this, it might be a situation where neither tyre will work and the top 10 is set in stone, which will be a real concern for the likes of Nakarinen, especially our championship leader, Alvaro Caraton. So they will really need to go out there and find a little bit of time. So let's see what Kieran Lutt can do. Nakarinen came straight into the pits, and Kieran Lutt is also coming straight into the pits. So the dry tyres not working for either of them. So is this going to be set in stone, this top 10? It could well be, if neither tyre seems to work in these conditions.
Oh, I'm a bit worried actually for the likes of Caraton, and
let's see what he does.
Yeah, he's on his outlap now, on a set of the the soft tyres. He's going to push for this one. Lutt abandoned it on his outlap on the mediums, so we'll see what Alvaro Caraton can do. On the run up towards turn 1, the Retafilio chicane, we'll see, can he make the corner? Now Corina wasn't able to. Alvaro Caraton has managed to get the car stopped in time, and he's continuing on this run, having a short shift just to get the power down as early as possible, and he's through 7th gear in towards the Curva Grande, hugging the inside like his favourite granny. I know someone likes to use that line, is in towards the De La Roggia chicane. Yeah, you see, he's not as confident as you would be in the full dry conditions, and the rain still unrelenting here. It's still pittering and pattering on the circuit through Lesmo 1 and up towards Lesmo 2 for Alvaro Caraton. Currently not set a time at the minute, so he's down in 14th. This will be an improvement no matter what, but it's not very handy that we don't have a Delta. DRS enabled on the run up towards turn number 8, 9 and 10 of Ascari. And it's a 56.8 through the second sector, so Alvaro Caraton is trying his best on his set of the slick tyre, and surely they will be within a good working condition at some point in this session, as now through down towards the final corner. Parabolica for Alvaro Caraton, not set a time thus far. He can go ahead of Tom Martinez on a 28.0. We'll see where he can nestle that. Williams is up towards the line. It looks like it's quick, and indeed it is, and that is surely going to be the calling sign for everyone to get out on circuit, because the slick tyres are now quicker.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a wild completion to the session. Ruben Pedreño, ho! Back end sliding like crazy there for Ruben Pedreño. He comes up to the line. It's still quick enough for P2 with a 25.9, and this could spark a massive rush out of the garage and onto the racetrack for some of these drivers, and you can see them all now pouring out onto the racetrack in a hurry. Jeffrey Ritchie comes across the line and he starts a flying lap. I tell you what, he'll do well to get out of the way of some of this traffic, or some of the traffic will do well to get out of the way of him, I should say, as he comes round and starts a flying lap. This is going to be last man across the line stuff here. So Ritchie on a lap. Is Shinaka Clay out there? He is. He started 1-2. So a few drivers starting flying laps. I think Nakarinen is the furthest round of those on a second or a first run. 27.6 through the first sector for Tino Nakarinen. So let's see what happens as Osyldrum now goes to the top of the order, and by some margin too. This is going to ramp up very quickly, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Corinen fending the conditions at the minute. Where the slicks are quicker. Tom Martinez doing well off the exit of Lesmo 2 to get out of his way, as is Tomek Parajas actually giving a slight bit of a toe to Tino Naukarinen. I don't think it was intentional. I think he was just trying to get out of the way, and then Naukarinen saw the opportunity to grab the slipstream, but through in towards Ascari, and you'll see the drivers are a lot more planted through here than they were in the intermediate conditions. So with 1 minute left to go in this qualifying session, all 15 drivers are out on circuit, as Alvaro Carreton, he's peeling into the pit lane, so that might not be safe for him, as there goes Pedreño to the line. It's a 24.3, and now Alvaro Carreton could actually be in trouble if he's not putting a time in, as there goes Naukarinen to the line with a 23.9.
Yeah, he's in trouble. He's going to be out, I think. I think he's going to be out. There's no doubt about it. I was keeping an eye on that. It wasn't looking good for him at all. So he could be in serious bother here. Here comes Lenny Pipinter, currently P10. There's so many drivers out there. I'm not sure where to look at the minute. But here comes Lenny Pipinter round the final part of the lap. Let's see where he goes on a set of the soft compound tyre. Across the line he comes now, and he goes P1. It's an Alpha Tauri 1-2, and it's all falling into place for them. Kieran Luck crosses the line. He splits the Alpha Tauris and goes P2. Statulet now. He crosses the line. Does not improve. He's not on a quick lap at the minute. But there is a Haas out there of Ulasor Geldrin, but he's invalidated his latest lap, and we'll have to go and see who's next across the line. But Carreton, he's seen the flag, we know that, he's in the pits, he's P7, and he is in serious danger of being knocked out in this part of qualifying. Tino Naukarinen knows he has to go again, he's fueled up to go again, and he's 1.2 seconds up on his previous lap, so we're going to see the lap times tumble again. So even Pipinter, who's top of the order at the minute on a 23.7, might not be safe if he was to invalidate. So here comes Naukarinen once again. What is his time going to be this time by? Oh, he takes an awful lot of curb going through the parabolic. I don't think that was the correct way to take it, but nonetheless, it will be a massive improvement. Naukarinen 22.3, and watch the time stumble. Jeffrey Ritchie now goes quickest. Parajas to the line. He's going to go quickest on a 21.6, and the times are just going to tumble like crazy. Martinez now goes second, and then Luke Smith goes second. It's absolutely wild, the end to this session. John Evans to the line. He now goes P1. Shanaka Clay at the back of the order. He goes P3, and I honestly cannot keep up with this. It is absolutely wild. So Ronhar now goes to the top of the order, and it's just changing by the moment here. Pedreño now up to the line. He's gone into the pits. He is out of qualifying. Carreton's now slowest. Jozeldrim is in the bottom 5, needs to improve, knocks Tino Naukarinen out of qualifying, and he is going to be in serious trouble. Here comes Pipinter. Can he get through? No, he is out, and that is it. Naukarinen, Pipinter, Luck, Pedreño, and Alvaro Carreton out in Q2. The championship leader is P15.
Again, the exact same scenario that we saw in Q1, where if you were just out later, automatically you're going to be quicker than the drivers in front. It's Piotr Stahalek leading his way in Q2. He didn't even have a time until the dry conditions came into effect, so that is unfortunate to see. Our championship leader out of Q2, and crucially just slipping his way in. Nicolas Longo, only 5 points back from the Spaniard in the title fight, now is going to be one of 10 drivers who have a shot at pole position. So Alvaro Carreton, I'd be nervous over him.
Yeah, disaster for Carreton. Did not go to plan. He was top in Q1, slowest in Q2, timed it wrongly, and he is out. Piotr Stahalek, P1 for the Polish driver, 21.1. Jozeldrim is through. Ronhar, John Evans, Tomek Parajas is P5. 6th for Shanaka Clay, Luke Smith, Tom Martinez. You'll be delighted with that. Jeffrey Ritchie and Nicholas Longi. It's goodbye in Q2 to both Alpha Tauris. It's Kieran Luck, Ruben Pedreño, and of course the championship leader, Alvaro Carreton, without doubt, Dan. The biggest surprise in that session. You said he'd be nervous, and I think he will be. Good chance his championship lead might be disappearing after just one round.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, the alternate strategy is pretty powerful around here, so possibly he could still have an opportunity. And of course, there's no point in qualifying. It's what you do in the race that really determines how a whole session goes. So I wouldn't give up hope if I were Alvaro Carreton. He's just got to get his head down come race time and then go racing.
Well, it is now the business end of qualifying. It's time for you guys in the chat to give us your predictions. Who's going to get that pole position? It's in dry conditions, so we've not really had a reference up to now of who is looking strong and who's not. So Dan, this could be the most difficult pole position for us to call all season. Who are you going for?
I'm going to go with Thomas Ronhar. for this one, I think. He's really impressive in qualifying. I've always seen him towards the top of the order. So I would say Thomas Ronhaar, he's got a good shot out pole position.
I'm going to go for Nicholas Longuet. I'm going to go for a safe bet. Longuet, second in the championship, sees his title rival 15th on the grid. So I'm going to go for Longuet to rub salt in the wounds of Alvaro Caraton. But we'll find out what happens. Let's jump into it. It's qualifying 3 for the Italian Grand Prix. And here they are then, the drivers out on track nice and early at the start of the final part of qualifying. Zeldrum out there, everyone out there apart from Ronhaar and Tom Martinez at the minute. Tom Martinez, he'll be delighted to get into the final part of qualifying. Great news for him, Dan, isn't it? Fair play to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, got points last time out for the second time this season. So he's got a pretty good shot of getting even more if he's managing to finish inside the top 10. He's just coming out of the pit lane. Only one man actually remains in there, and I think that's Ronhaar, who's also coming out onto circuit. So the first runs are going to be completed by Parajic, Stahalek, and Richie. Those are the first runners who are out on track. And Tomek Parajic beginning his run in the Alpine down towards turn number 1. One of the longest runs into the first braking zone on the F1 calendar. Braking just at the 100-meter board, making the corner and slinging it in towards the exit where he's going to be met by the Curva Grande. I'm getting a call on Discord. I've got to quickly dismiss that as in towards the next part of the circuit. It is going to be what is one of the many chicanes. You know what, Andy? I forget all the names.
The De La Roggia chicane, there you go. Tomek Parajic going through there now and onto the two Lesmos. But let's see how he gets on. Good to see two Polish drivers into the final part of qualifying. Let's see how Parajic gets on. Stachelek is right behind him on the road, so we'll get a direct comparison between the two Poles in this part of qualifying. Let's see how he goes on through the middle sector. It's going to be a 52.614 for Parajic, and you can see the difference in their speed given the conditions now, dry track conditions, and you can push so much harder. It looks so much more impressive as we now watch Parajic make his way down to the final corner. So both Alpines and the Ferrari of Stachelek coming to the end of their first runs. Let's see how Parajic comes up then to the line. What's it going to be as an opening effort? It's going to be a 119 flat. It's a really strong effort from him. Stachelek pits, he bails out. So how is Jeffrey Ritchie getting on? He crosses the line now, but he's 7/10 down on the time from his teammate Jonas Zeldrum. We know he's a quick qualifier. The Turkish driver is coming up to the line now. Can he get anywhere near Parajic? He can, but it's still 2:10 shy of the top time from him. John Evans goes third with a 1:19.2. Still no one getting close to that time of Tomek Parajic. What about Luke Smith? He goes P4. No improvement from him. So at the minute, it's Parajic on top after the opening efforts. As Longuet on a lap, he has invalidated it, so it will not be a good lap from him. So Parajic on top after the opening efforts.
Absolutely. Thomas Ronhaar is currently on a run at the minute. He's just coming in towards the final sector now at the Ascari chicane. And oh dear, on entry invalidates. Unfortunate for Ronhaar. And he's going to have to go again. I'd imagine he'd come into the pit lane because you don't want to do too many runs on a set of the soft compound tyre, contrary to the intermediate. As in towards the next part of the circuit for Shanaka Clay. We'll see what he can do in his Williams. As up towards the sector split, it's a 52.7. The game's given in purple. I'm not too sure how true that is. But recently joining Williams Esports. He's a man on form at the minute. And we'll see what he can do as that is the Aston Martin, I see a Mercedes of John Evans getting out of the way. As in towards the final corner for Shanaka Clay. We'll see what he can do. As off the exit, we'll see. He's in 8th at the moment, no time on the board. And to cross the line, it's going to be 5th position for him ahead of Jeffrey Ritchie.
Yeah, good effort there from Shanaka Clay. Looking pretty close in behind Parajic with that time. It's a very, very, very good effort from him. Let's see what Longuet can do. He's in the final corner now. He's going for a second run on these tyres. So up to the line he goes. Looks like an improvement, and it's enough to go 5th. A 119.324 for Nicholas Longuet. So still a wee bit shy, and I've got to say I'm impressed, and even more impressed by that opening effort from Parajic. 2/10 clear of anyone else on a track that does not have many corners. That looks like quite the margin for Tomek Parajic.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to be pleased with that one there. It's Ronhaar. I think Ronhaar's bend it down at Ascari, and that was my pick for pole. We'll see if Jeffrey Ritchie can keep up with him, but he's completely out of fuel, so I actually don't think he'll be able to spot the Aston Martin stranded at the side of the road. And yeah, I just saw, you can actually see the barriers slightly displaced down there. So yeah, Ronhar's had a big hit. That's his qualifying over.
Yeah, disaster for Thomas Ronhard, disappointment for him. Let's see how Tom Martinez can get on with a rare appearance in the final part of qualifying. Got the timing right in Q1 and Q2, and now sees himself attacking with a shot at pole position. Remember, changeable conditions, very favourable for him. He showed that back in Canada last season when he took a famous victory in WOR in Tier 1, fending off Jake Benham on that occasion. Let's see how Martinez can get on here as he pushes hard, gets a little bit of curb. Currently 10th as he's not completed a lap time yet. He stands and we won't see one from Ronhar, the drivers without a time. Let's see how Martinez is looking through the middle sector. It's a 52.9, so he's a little bit slower than what we saw from Longy. So at the minute, he would be slowest of the time set, I would say, around maybe a 19.5, 19.6 from Tom Martinez. We'll see how he completes the lap, but at the minute, not looking too spectacular from the man in the Mercedes as he comes now into the Parabolica and then sends it right out to the extremities of the racetrack, then moves back to the inside. Martinez up to the line. What's it going to be? It is going to be a 19.6 as we suspected, and his lap is over. So a good effort from him. Paradis starting another one and looking to extend his margin even further.
Absolutely. So the pole on his run is his fellow countryman Stahalek just going into 4th position. You'll see the gaps are so tight behind Tomic Paracic, but he is far ahead of them at the minute. Ozildrum, John Evans and Stahalek separated by 4,000 of a second. So incredible times coming out from these guys. Paracic through the first sector is slightly down, but that is easy to do as the first few corners are very tricky to make. There's a slight run into the gravel for him, not going to help his case too much as the sun begins to peek through the clouds. So conditions are going to be heating up, and hopefully that's going to benefit the drivers. He's going to get a ray of sun into the visor as he comes down into the next part of the circuit, as he goes underneath the old configuration of the Monza circuit, and he is marginally improving by about 0.005 of a second. Full commitment through Ascari now, and he's nailed that absolutely beautifully. He's gotten a complete batch of clear air in front of him, so it's just him and air between himself and the finish line, as through towards Parabolica now. Tomic Paracic off the exit of the final corner, taking all the exit curb he can just to do that for us, and he comes into the pit lane, and typical really, when we're hyping up a lap, they decide, you know what, I'm going to troll them, I'll come into the pits.
Yeah, well, what a shame that is. Decides to bail out of that one. John Evans, is he out there? Yes, he is, and let's see what he can do then. 2 tenths away from Paradis. Every chance he could improve, and let's see what he can do as he makes his way up to the line now. John Evans going for pole. Can he get it? He can. First man into the 118s. John Evans rises to the challenge set by Paradis and goes quickest of all. Luke Smith was on an improvement, but not enough, and he comes into the pit. So John Evans then leaves it late with that second run and goes quickest with a 118.9. Good effort from John Evans.
Yeah, absolutely. I think drivers are gearing up for their final runs now. No one's on a push lap at the minute, but we do have a few drivers in Sector 2. That would be Nicholas Longue, Shanaka Clay and Jeffrey Ritchie. A few of the bottom drivers, currently 6th, 7th and 8th, the 3 of them. So they're looking for some early improvements using all the clear air on track. But you see they're pushing themselves around the circuit really, as through Ascari they go. It's going to be Longue leading Ritchie, then Clay behind on track. You see they're bunched up quite substantially at the moment. They are going to back off so that they can get some clear air. They're not going to be affected by the dirty air left by the cars in front of them. Here goes Longue. He's beginning his final run of qualifying, or possibly he can fit in 2 laps at this point if he has enough fuel in the tank. He's got 2 minutes left to go in this session, and he's got 1 run at it. So we'll see what he can do as he comes down in towards the first corner.
So then, what can the Frenchman do? He's just seen his championship rival Alvaro Caraton bow out in Q2 after he got the timing wrong in the switch from inters to dry tyres. Longue then 5 points behind Caraton in the championship battle. Caraton on 80, this man on 75. John Evans has retired from the session, so there's going to be an 18.9 at best from John Evans. That is the target that they're all going to aim for with these final runs, as Longue has bailed out of the lap already, so it's not going to plan for him. How is it looking for Jeffrey Ritchie and Shanaka Clay? Let's keep an eye on the man 3rd in the championship. This is him here, newly signed for the Williams esports team. Can he start his tenure at Williams with a very strong result and potentially a pole position here at Monza. Can he get any kind of slipstream from Nicholas Longuet? No, he'll move to the right of the racetrack, but he's 4/10 down. Shinaka Clay, it's not looking good here, so we'll go to Jeffrey Ritchie and see how he's getting on, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeffrey Ritchie down in towards Parabolica for his run. He still has the opportunity to do back-to-back push laps, and I think that's what Longuet and Clay are going to be thinking about doing, but we'll see what he opts to do. Is now coming up towards the start-finish line. He's currently in 8th position. Towards the line he goes. Finds an improvement, but it's not enough to see himself above anybody else. We do have other drivers on runs at the minute, one of them being Tomek Parajic, formerly on provisional pole position. That was snatched away by John Evans, and already through the first sector split, he is up by 300ths of a second. Tomek Parajic and John Evans have their history of controversy together in Challenger Series, but they've both risen above and beyond, and they're rising to the occasion. Currently 1 and 2 in qualifying at the minute. Through Lesmo 1 and 2 he goes, and Tomek Parajic has now got the back straight here in towards Ascari, and he's finding 2/10 of an improvement, and this could be the pole time that we're seeing right now from the Polish driver as he goes full commitment through Ascari. The clock strikes 0. He's got one more corner to go until he's ahead of John Evans if he just nails this final part of the track. Tomek Parajic, a man on fire at the moment. He's on a mission, and off the exit of the final corner, the Parabolica curve, the Alpine towards the line. What can he do? He's going to cross the line. It's going to be an 18.8. He lays down the gauntlet, and we'll see if that's going to be our pole time by the end of the session.
Shinaka Clay struggling to improve. He's still down through the middle sector. How is Longuet looking? We'll see Jeffrey Ritchie cross the line first, but he's coming up to the line now. Currently P8. Can Ritchie improve on that? No, he stays where he is. What about Shinaka Clay? It's not looking good for him either. He crossed the line only, goes up to 5th. What about Nicholas Longuet? He can go up to 3rd with an 18.999. So he does improve. Luke Smith goes P4. What about Ulas Ozeldrum? He crosses the line now and goes up to P2. So good effort from him. Not enough to displace the man on top at the minute. Tom Martinez currently P9. Can he find any more time? He can, but he stays in 9th place at the minute. Now we wait on Piotr Stachulek. It's currently a pole on pole. Is it going to be 2 poles in the front row? No, it's not. It's session over from him, and it is Tomek Parajic who gets the job done. John Evans with the earlier lap. He came back and was able to topple him. What a time that is. And Tomek Parajic on pole with that 118.833. Ozeldrum got in between he and John Evans, but couldn't quite topple the Polish driver who, throughout that third part of qualifying, looked to be the man to beat. Tomek on pole by 1.5 tenths. Ulas Ozeldrum second with John Evans in third. Then it's Alfa Romeos in 4th and 5th with Nicholas Longuet and Luke Smith. Piotr Stachulek is 6th with Shinaka Clay in 7th. Jeffrey Ritchie is 8th, and Tom Martinez ends a solid qualifying P9th. And as we saw, Thomas Ronhaar in the barrier did not complete a time, and he will start this race from P10. But what a session that was. Tomek Parajic, very, very impressive throughout, wasn't he, Dan?
Yeah, it's a tantalising lap from Tomek Parajic there to go ahead by 1.5 tenths his nearest rival, which was Ulas Ozeldrum. That is really impressive stuff, and it's going to be putting him into some strong stead coming into the race. Unfortunate for my pick for pole position. Unfortunately, Thomas Ronhaar not getting a lap time on the board, crashing out at Ascari. He's going to be starting from 10th, but I think shame on both of us really for sleeping on Tomek Parajic there.
Yeah, of course. Parajic getting the job done. I went for Longuet, you went for Ronhaar. We were both wrong. We were right during the week in PSG, but I think that was the only time we've ever been right, isn't it? But it does look like there might be a host issue here. It looks like a few drivers are leaving, so there might be a little bit of a pause, folks, before we get the race underway. So bear with us, folks, before we get things going for the Italian Grand Prix. What are you seeing, Dan? You give us an update?
Yeah, so that little conflict we saw between Laverty and Ritchie all the way in Q1, where they were going side by side through Parabolica, that's due to desync. So unfortunately, we're getting a lobby restart for that. It won't be long until we are in the race session, but I guess that gives us a little bit more time to talk about our qualifying session there.
Yeah, I think we can. But Tomek Parajic, let's have a quick word on that, because we never really knew, did we, Dan, from qualifying 1 and qualifying 2, who really was going to be quick in the dry conditions at the end. But straight out the box, Parajic was quickest. He was 2 tenths quicker after that first run, wasn't he? And he just continued to improve. John Evans looked like he was going to be the man to challenge, but he'd used up all his tyres, and Prix was able to hit that that standing target on his final run.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really impressive,
Yeah.
to say the very least. I've just sent you an invite to the lobby. We're getting in as quick as we can. Then Luke's just got to do the grid until we're ready to go. But it's going to be nice to see all 20 drivers now on the grid together, fighting it out for 27 laps around possibly one of the greatest circuits in Formula One's history.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the very best. That's why it's up on the wall behind me. I've only got the classics up there, and yeah. That's why it's got a special place on the wall above me. So yeah, fantastic. Should be a really exciting race. It's usually one of the shortest races of the year because it's such high speed, so that we go tick through the 27 laps very, very quickly. But that doesn't mean there'll be shortage of drama. Should be a slipstream fest, Dan. Plenty of opportunities to overtake down into the turn 1, down into the second chicane, even into a scary or parabolic if you're brave, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many avenues to find and overtake around this circuit, and it is really, really lovely that we get to come here. And of course, you do go through the laps so quickly, and that sort of creates a sense of urgency for the drivers. A really slow circuit like I'm just trying to think what's a really long race. I think Spain is always quite a long race, and sorry,
Singapore. That's one of the longest.
Singapore. Oh my. Singapore's a slugfest.
It's a marathon, isn't it? It's strange for the Formula 1 drivers, isn't it? Because usually they go to Italy, have the quickest race of the year, and then they go to Singapore, and it's the longest race of the year. Oh, I know, I hate doing Singapore. Thankfully, I don't, well, from a racing point of view, I love commentating it, of course, but I'd hate racing it. I'd end up in the barrier. I'd fall asleep, Dan. I'd struggle.
Yeah, no.
But
I think same for both of us.
yeah.
With Singapore, I'm not a fan of driving it.
Yeah, we're not great. We're not great driving there. But yeah, looking forward to this race anyway. But I've just had a look at the weather. It's looking like it's going to be a dry race. So dry conditions throughout. The rain of qualifying has abated, so it will be a dry race ahead. And we'll have an interesting choice of tyre compounds because some of them are going to be locked in because, of course, a lot of them, everyone at the end of Q2 were forced onto the tyres. Dry tyres, so they'll be forced to start the race on the tyres they qualified on, so it could make for an interesting Grand Prix. So that's one to watch as well. What will the alternate strategy bring for the likes of Alvaro Carreton, who of course is the championship leader and starts down in 15th, and I think this is a good opportunity while we wait on getting going. Standings once again, here it is. Carreton 5 points is advantage over Longay, but the chances are, starting from P15, that is going to get wiped out today, and Longay might resume the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, starting outside the top 10, it's not the end of the world for Alvaro Carreton. You know, he still has the tyre advantage over Longay, who did set his time on a set of the intermediates and on the softs. Although Alvaro Carreton, he does find a way to always get on the podium. He's had 4 podiums this season. He finally captured the win last time out in Canada. So I think if we're expecting a charge through the grid from anyone, it's got to be Alvaro Carreton.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be desperate to come charging through, the man from Spain. Let's see what he can do. Longay there, 75 points. Shinaka Clay, a bit of an average qualifying session. Never quite get the lap hooked up and starts. I think it was P8 on the grid for him. We'll see what he can do. Thomas Ronhar, 4th in the standings, prominent towards the front of the order, but of course crashed in qualifying. He was your pick for pole position, and you've ended up cursing him. But Ronhar, let's see what he can do from P10. It could be an interesting one for him. Luke Smith, obviously, he made his way into the final part of qualifying as well. I'm interested to see what John Evans could do. I've not seen him in great form in the league racing scene for quite some time. Of course, he's been focusing so hard on the Challenger. So I wonder what John Evans can do tonight. What are we expecting? Are we going to see some fireworks between he and Prix? We know they've got a bit of history, don't we, Dan?
Yeah, of course. They've had their rivalries, and I think one of the graphic designers that works with WOR, I think it's Chris, that made a great video highlighting sort of their tensions in PC Challengers. I believe Tomek Precious is quite clearly out in front in that battle. So in terms of the Challenger standings, you know, I'm not one to judge how good those two guys are, especially from the position that I'm in, considering I could hardly get around a circuit without spinning. So both of them phenomenal drivers, and they're going to give us a very tight-knit race.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think there could be fireworks, Dan. I really do, between those two. Of course, there's Ulas Ozeldrum. He's right in the thick of it as well. Longue, we know he is very, very strong. So yeah, I think it could be a really good race. We're having to wait, of course, a little while here, but it does look like the lobby's about to get underway in a few moments' time. So looking forward to the start of this race. Any predictions, Dan? Who are you going to go for the victory? People in the chat, let us know who you're going for. Dan, get off the fence. Tell us who's going to take the victory here at Monza.
It's so difficult to say, but you know what? I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to say Thomas Ronhaar. I think I cursed him in qualifying, and surely if you double down, you're never going to lose. So I think Thomas Ronhaar, bags of talent in that Dutchman's Aston Martin, and I think he's going to have a brilliant charge through the field to take the win.
Oh, brave, brave, brave stuff from Dan. Would you bet the house on it? I'm not sure you would, but okay, fair enough. He's gone for Thomas Ronhaar. He's sticking his neck on the line. Fair enough. Matty says that Longue will win the race. Well, we'll see if you're absolutely right. He was my pick for pole. Didn't quite manage it. For the race for me, I'm going to go for Perez. He's looked strong and, you know, might be the boring choice given that he was strong in qualifying, but yep, if I was a betting man, I'm going for Thomas Perez to take the victory. So we'll have to wait and see, but we're about to get underway. The lobby is now started up, so let's get ready for the 7th round of the championship. It is the Italian Grand Prix here from Monza, and it's live. Here it is then, the magnificent Italian Grand Prix here from the Speed Cathedral that is Monza. The Italian Grand Prix should be a cracker here tonight. Round 7 here in the WOR season. And it's been a prominent fixture on the calendar. Season 11 was the first time WR didn't race at Monza. Only Austria, Britain and Belgium have featured on every WOR calendar. Here's the circuit, 3.6 miles, only 11 turns, 3 sectors as always, and 2 DRS zones. Flat out throughout, plenty of opportunities for overtaking down into turn 1 and 2, into the second chicane through Ascari, and also into the Parabolica. There's your previous winners. Antoine Desaluski was the winner in Season 10. Of course, we had a break last time out. And here's some of the action. Here's our very own Luke Humphries making a move in a photo finish with Darnell. Well, we have a photo finish tonight here in WR as they race to the line. And unfortunately, our very own Luke Humphries took the victory. What about this one? Dominic's double overtake into the first corner, into the Rettifilo. Watch him make the move up the inside and then round the outside on the exit of one of our contenders tonight, CRG Lutz, making the move and through into P5. So plenty of action around this racetrack. Let's get into it then. We're about to get underway in a few seconds time for the formation lap as Luke in the chat goes on about his overtake. He edited that, by the way, folks. He edited that. Imagine putting your own overtake in an edit. Dan, that is shocking, isn't it?
You know what? It's fair enough.
Oh, come on.
I think it's fantastic. Oh. Hey, and we love a little bit of Luke Humphries around here.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, I stand corrected. It was a good bit of racing across the line. And Luke coming out the victor on that occasion. No, I'm not reading the chat. But look, yeah, whatever. What an overtake. Yeah, okay, cool. Don't beg it, Luke. Don't beg it. So let's see then how the drivers are looking ahead of this race then. Let's have a look at the tyre compounds, because it could be an interesting one, Dan, given that those guys outside the top 10 might go for a different choice, and it might have been a bit of a frenzy just to get into the next part of qualifying, so the drivers might not have considered what to qualify on, but everyone in the top 10 on the softs, everyone outside the top 10 on the mediums, looking pretty straightforward in that regard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a straight 50-50 split. As you would expect, you know, the mediums do come into effect pretty quickly around this circuit. So it's going to be exciting to see who comes out on top in the end, although, of course, track position is key sometimes around here, especially in DRS trains. You know, if everyone gets away well, they're all going to have DRS by lap number 3, aside from Tomic Perez if he is still leading by the end of it. So you want to be one of the top drivers in a train to fight for those positions early on. And Ulas Ildrim, he's in prime position, but through Parabolica, Tomic Perez, the AI takes control, and we're going to get ready to get underway here, Andy.
Yep, about to get underway then. Should be the quickest race of the season, as we touched on earlier, just because of the sheer high speeds. 27 laps ahead of the drivers, 50% of a full Formula 1 race distance. Tomic Perez moves his Alpine car into the pole position spot. There is Ulas Ildrim pulling alongside. It's one of the longest runs in the Formula 1 calendar, from pole position to the braking point at turn 1, so there's every opportunity for a move into that first corner as we wait for the last car, which is Jack Laverty, who now moves into position now, and we await those 5 red lights. Paradzis, Ozildrum, Evans, the front 3 cars. Nicholas Longue looking to take the lead in the championship tonight. Let's see how things shape up. How will Caraton get on from down in P15? We'll find out in a few moments' time. The 5 red lights are on, and when they go out, we'll be racing at Monza. It's go, go, go. It's Paradzis away from pole position. Ozildrum does not get the launch he's looking for, and here comes John Evans through the middle. Paradzis will lead into turn 1. Ozildrum trying to hold on to that second place, but he can't. John Evans gets through and into P2, but it's perfect for Paradzis. He holds on with ease as they make their way through Curva Grande. He's already a second clear of John Evans as the rest of the field fight their way through Curva Grande. Ozildrum battling hard here with John Evans going into the second chicane. And let's look Smith going up the inside, making a move, going wide, forced onto the grass and gravel. And now Longue steams in and steals third place away from Ulas Ozildrum. A really messy start as Shanaka Clay flies off the line and up into P4, Dan. Wow!
It's been disastrous for Ozildrum. He's lost a number of positions to Evans, Longue, and now Clay. So we'll see what he can do as Luke Smith is now trying to challenge against Piotr Stahalek. They're all fighting in the mid-points paying positions. Meanwhile, Tomek Paracic is 1.2 seconds clear of anybody else as off the exit of Ascari. I think Luke Smith is going to try and have a crack at the whip on Piotr Stahalek down in towards Parabolica. He was talking about potential moves down into here. He has to go the long way round. He can't find the gap to go up the outside. Around the outside of Stahalek's Ferrari, but a slide for the Polish driver could put him at a vulnerable position to Luke Smith, who's now going to use the ERS to close down the straight. They're wheel to wheel, side by side in towards the first corner. Up ahead, Ozildrum as well is trying to find a move on Shanaka Clay. He goes up the inside of the Williams driver, as does Luke Smith. They're 2x2 Noah's Ark style. I think Clay's just about come out on top. They're still wheel to wheel between Luke Smith and Piotr Stahalek as through Curva Grande now. Side by side they go once again in the flat out right-hander. Finally, Stahalek's got to concede. Luke Smith, sensational stuff from the pair of them to keep it clean, and they've both managed to get through with their front wings still intact.
Yeah, well, for a moment I wasn't sure if they would, but yeah, great racing between them, and in the end, Luke Smith gets it done on Stahalek. Shanaka Clay fighting hard with Ulas Ozildrum as well, but fending him off. What a start, though, for Tomek Paradzis. 1.1 seconds, breaking what could potentially be the DRS from John Evans when it's active in a few moments' time. So the perfect start for him. Evans getting a really good getaway to get ahead of Ulas Ozildrum, who's gone backwards in the opening exchanges of this race. It's not going to plan for him as we keep an eye still on the battle on the fringes of the top 10. Stachulek, Ritchie, Ron Hart, Luke Smith all fighting relatively close to one another, and it looks like Stachulek might be the one to maybe come back at Luke Smith in a few moments' time. So round the final corner they go, and they're about to start lap number 3. Paradzis sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. He's really settling into a rhythm. It's immediately responded though by John Evans, and Stachulek tries to line up Luke Smith. Is he going to be close enough into turn 1? I don't think so, as they continue onto lap number 3.
Yep, absolutely, and this is when the DRS gets enabled. And crucially for John Evans, he's not going to have that luxury if he doesn't manage to close within a second of Tomek Paracic in front of him. Nicholas Longue also close to losing the DRS advantage. He was dipped to about 9/10 of a second to John Evans and through the Dele Rogier chicane. I think he's made up some of that time, so he's going to have DRS. But I'm interested to see how the midfield battles turn out in this, because Stahalek and Smith have been close to each other since the beginning of this race, and I think Jeffrey Ritchie and Thomas Ronhar also looking to get in the action as through on towards this back straight where you go underneath the old Monza layouts. No DRS overtakes this time by, of course, with that DRS train. Effectively, the advantage is nullified, but a good run for Stahalek through here, and he is closing to the rear of Luke Smith, and I see Longue up ahead as well, is closing to the rear of John Evans, so we'll see if he goes for the move in towards the first corner. Through Parabolica goes Luke Smith and Stahalek. It's all chopping and changing throughout the timing sheet as down in towards the first corner they go. DRS enabled for the pair of them, as I think Nicholas Longue in front as well is also making the move, and Andy, I don't know where to look here.
Well, I don't know where to look, but I'll tell you, Longue, as we go looking there now, he's through on John Evans and up into second position. So Longue makes the move, and he now can begin the push on towards the back of Tomek Baradzis. John Evans has to concede, and Longy, who is keen to take the championship lead tonight back from Alvaro Caraton, is going about it in the very correct way. 1.1 now off the back of Baradzis. Can he reel him in? It remains to be seen, but it's a good start from him. Stachulek got the move done on Luke Smith as well, so a few moves in the top 6 or 7 places. Stachulek up to 6th and Longy up into 2nd. So now we'll see if he's got the pace to stick with Baradzis, because the early signs were that John Evans was maybe struggling to keep with his coattails, but we'll have to wait and see if Longy does have the pace and already moves himself within DRS territory. So Longy moving himself into contention.
Yep, and this will bring the rest of the field back into the action, because of course they're all within DRS range of each other. Nicholas Longy using up some of the ERS just to confirm that he's going to get DRS in towards turn number 1, but I don't think he's got it this time. I think he's just missed the bubble, unfortunately, and off the exit of Parabolica, no, he's not going to get DRS this time by, but if he does end up closing, using some of the slipstream as well, then he will be able to get it. But I'm telling you now, he's already flat on the ERS. He has 0%, and at a circuit where you're spending so much time flat out, it is very difficult to charge a battery.
Well, Ronhart having a little look up the inside of Richie, decided to think better of it, and he actually gives him a little nudge there going through turns 1 and 2 as he tries to get a move on back through the order. Ronhart, of course, if you've just joined us, folks, crashing out in the final part of qualifying, didn't actually post a lap time, ended up P10 on the grid. He's made up 1 place and he swapped places from qualifying with Tom Martinez, who's struggling to keep with the pace. He's just around 1 second off the back of the train at the minute as Ronhart sets about moving into contention. Currently 4th in the standings with 41 points is Thomas Ronhart, and would like to make a little bit of progress up through the field at the minute, behind Jeffrey Ritchie on lap 5 out of 27. Now the top 10, as you can see, all on the softs. The bottom 10, all on the medium tire at this stage, as Jeffrey Ritchie gets ever closer to the back of Luke Smith, who looked to me a little bit out of shape there. And now I think Ritchie might fancy his chances. Let's bring up the telemetry briefly. No sign of him using that ERS, but he's getting closer and closer. Will he have a look up the inside into Parabolica? I doubt it. It's such a shallow braking zone, and it makes it really difficult to make a move. I think we should maybe move a little bit further up the order, because Ulaso Zeldrum is also quite close to the back of Shinaka Clay. Is he going to be close enough to make a move into turn 1? I don't think so, because Shinaka Clay also has the DRS. So let's go further back then to Jeffrey Ritchie, fighting hard with Ronhart and with Luke Smith. He's going to try and go round the outside of Luke Smith. That doesn't work. Now we've tried to switch back on the exit, get on the throttle a little bit sooner, but it doesn't quite work out. Meanwhile, behind that, Ruben Pedreño and Kieran Lutt are in a bit of a scrap, and it's Ruben Pedreño coming out on top. And look at that, Caraton determined to make some progress. He knows his championship lead might go tonight, and he's going to go try round the outside of Kieran Lutt. He'll pick up the slipstream from Pedreño. Here he goes down the inside, the Spaniard on Kieran Lutt. Can he get the job done? Into the De La Roja chicane. He pulls alongside, but Lutt keeps his foot in, and Caraton's off and into the gravel trap, loses several places and drops all the way down to P17. Disaster for the championship leader as Laverty now goes up the inside and drops him to P18. Wow! Oh, so close in the midfield as Tino Nakarinen is at the front of this train with all sorts of action behind.
Wow, Thomas Ronhart soared up the inside into Ascari ahead of Jeffrey Ritchie, and I don't think Ritchie expected that move. It's all kicking off all throughout the grid, and surely those medium runners, they can't benefit from fighting this early on, because they're just giving up the gap to all of the soft runners in front of them. But Thomas Ronhart with a tantalizing effort to go up the inside cleanly.
Look at this, and it's not worked out for Parnell. He's gone round at the final corner. He tried to make the move, and in the end, it's not worked out as Leroy Brown now passes Jack Laverty. But Parnell tried to stick one up the inside at the final corner, was never on, and in the end, it goes all pear-shaped. Here's Baena up the inside of Pipinta into the first corner. So much action in the lower reaches of the order, and he battles side by side with Pipinta and gets through. So Baena splits the Alpha Tauris and is up into 14th place, but Parnell trying one up the inside, never on, and pardon me, he dropped all the way to the back.
Yep, he's going on a set of the hard compounder tyre now, and I think there's got to be a message to the medium runners really to stop fighting so hard. Now Ruben Pedreño is 5.2 seconds back from Tom Martinez, who they were not too far back from. Just a few laps to go on lap number 7 now we are. And those soft tyres, they're not going to be in the best nick for too long. So surely they've got to start thinking about their pit stops in the next maybe 4 or 5 laps is where when I'm expecting these guys to come into the pit. Right at the sharp end of the order, by the way, Nicolas Longuet has securely reeled in Tomac Paragic, as has John Evans. So Paragic, he's now not in a race of his own like he was for the first 2 or 3 laps. He has got some pressure, although not too much at the moment. And I think Longuet is trying to save some of his resources. The same might not be said for Ulas Zildjian, as he's closing to the rear of Shanaka Clay, as is Thomas Ronhart to Luke Smith. But again, in towards turn 1, the DRS train playing to the advantage of the cars defending each other, as no moves being made in towards the first corner at the front runners.
Well, here's one here from Bena. We've just seen him put a move on Pipinta round the outside of Tino Nakarunen. That would be a super move, and he's gonna make it work. What a move from the Spaniard. Can he complete it on the exit? Maybe not. Nakarunen keeps his foot in and will hold on through the inside. Bena round the outside as they make their way through Curva Grande and on down towards the De La Roja chicane. Bena, is he now through on the inside? Nakarunen won't give it up. They both run across the runoff area. That's going to get messy, very messy, and the 3 of them wipe each other out. Into the wall goes Bena, and that was ridiculous, to be honest. There was no need for that to carry on like that. Neither wanted to yield, and unsurprisingly, the 2 of them deservedly are off the road. What was going on there, Dan? There's just no need for that.
Right, I'm personally going to clip that because I was riding on board with Ika Baenya, and from my point of view, he just turned right into Nao Karinen. So if that's the case, and he's just tried to wipe him out, then I've got to say that's disgusting stuff from Ika Baenya. But I'm not going to throw any accusations yet. I'm going to check over the clip just to see what he actually did there. But I think, yeah, he's slowing down. I think he intends to come into the pits and retire. No, wait, is he slowing down to catch Nao Karinen off guard? I'd hope not. As he turns in. Okay. No, I don't think he's wiped him out. If he goes into the back of him here. Oh, dear.
Okay. Well, okay. Not too sure what's going on there, but let's focus on what's going on at the front, because that was not very enjoyable to watch, that was it? Bit messy between those drivers. But that was not the kind of racing we like to see in WOR. As Nakarunen retires from the race, he'll not be happy with that. If what you've seen on board is indeed the case, of course, you want to withhold that. You don't want to blame anyone. We'll let the investigation take place. But it did look like neither driver wanted to yield initially, and then it just got out of hand on the exit of that chicane, didn't it?
Yeah, I think if Luke's in the live stream right now, if he wants to join the call, I can quietly stream him the clip, because I managed to get that down, and he can make his executive decision here and now. But I guess we got to move on from the situation that's unfolded, because I think there is still some battling at the front of the order. I think Thomas Ronhart wants to go for a move on Stahalek. Stahalek actually fakes coming to the pit lane. Everyone else stays out on circuit, as Ulas Zildjian is closing to the rear of Shanaka Clay in towards turn 1. We'll see if he goes up the inside, possibly. And no, again, no dive bombs being made, so it's nice and clean at the front. Although Longuet and Evans both go pretty deep in towards the first corner. That's going to concertina affect the rest of the grid up. And now they're all following about 7 or 8 cars in this train, separated by about 2 seconds here.
Yeah, very, very close, isn't it? It's really hotting up. And who's that making a move? Is that Stachulek making a move up the inside? It looked like he was on the inside, maybe defending from Ronhart. Didn't quite see that one, but Ronhart in P7 really starting to make some inroads, isn't he? Up now into 7th position in this Grand Prix. But yeah, Nicolas Longuet, by reeling in Tomac Paragic, has really made this a proper fight for victory, because the early signs were that Paragic was looking very strong. And here comes Ronhart. We've already seen him make one move in here. Is he going to make another on Stachulek into Ascari? This would be brave. And again, he decides better of it. I think that was the right decision, because things could have got pretty messy there, Dan, should he have went for the move.
Yeah, I think messy is one way to describe how things have gone so far, and luckily Thomas Ronhart decided to avoid that happening even further, as off the exit of Parabolica, he looks like he's got the better run than Stahalek, who might want to come into the pit lane this time by, and oh dear, they're all going to come into the pits almost, as John Evans, oh dear, he's got a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. I think that's because he didn't indicate early enough that he was coming into the pits, and he's paid the price for it.
Yeah, he's washed. John Evans washed, and he rejoins the track now, right down the order as a result. A disaster for him there, getting that penalty. A bit of a sickener for him. Longuet then fighting with Paragic at the front. 5/10 between them. Longuet really making a race of this. Paragas looked strong. Longuet showing in the race that he might even be stronger as they battle on the track at the minute. So the early stops from Pedreño, Pipinter and Jeffrey Ritchie. So we'll see how that shakes out. Meanwhile, Jozeldrum also made a stop. What's going on down there? Oh dear! Oh dear, he's off the track! Jonas Jozeldrum, one of the contenders for victory, off and in a spin and out of contention now. We haven't seen it, but I wonder what is going on there. Jozeldrum drops down to 15th place and out of contention.
He might have had some sort of contact with Stahalek or Jeffrey Ritchie or John Evans, any of those guys that he was around on circuit. But that's unfortunate for him. We got yellow flags. That's Tom Martinez off and into the barriers at Ascari. I think he's just dropped that on his own there. I'm not too sure if he's got any wing damage, but he's going to let all the medium runners go past. No, he's managed to escape actually getting any damage, but he is harvesting. He's got less than 10% of the ERS, and I think if his tyres weren't shot then, he's going to be coming into the pits now. So a lot of chaos at WR Italy, but I guess, yeah, Tom Martinez into the pit lane now, and he's going to strap on his medium tyres maybe a bit earlier than he'd have liked, as does Clay, Paragic and Longuet.
Yeah, so there in the pits, Paragas retains his lead, but let's see if they're going to stay in front of John Evans, of course. Let's see, here he comes now. John Evans down, and is he ahead now? Yes, he is. Going to be very close between he and Paragas, but he is now into what would be the net lead. However, that time penalty is going to haunt him for speeding in the way into the pit lane. He is now at the front of the field when the pit stops are made from the 7 in front of him. But of course, the penalty looming over him will make it very difficult or almost impossible for him to win this race. So Paragas, thankfully, is still essentially in the net lead from his point of view.
Yep, absolutely. Although there is some glitches sometimes where drivers can be on the limit. I think it is a pretty rare occurrence, but they could be at the speed limit that you are on, and it counts it as red because you're just a fraction over. But that can get removed if he doesn't pit again. If he pits and serves it, then there's nothing stewards can do from that point onwards. But I'd imagine that Tomek wants to put some clear air between himself and Longuet and Clay, because those are going to be his main rivals for the rest of this race, as finally Luke Smith and Ron Hard, the last of the soft runners who started on that compound, are now coming into the pit lane. But I'd like to see what Longuet can do here, because he is right on the rear of Tomek Paragas, getting very close to the gearbox of the Alpine. Of course, his former F1 esports team, as they're going to slalom down the main straight. It's going to be one of the longest runs into the first corner. Longuet closing to the rear of Tomek Paragas, closing to the rear of John Evans. They file out ahead of Ron Hart and Luke Smith, as in towards the braking zone. Tomek Paragas to the outside of the Mercedes. Longuet can't find an avenue this time by, but that's a sensational overtake. What a move from Tomek Paragas to get past John Evans around the outside at turn number 1. It was a late defensive move from John Evans' Mercedes car, and he really couldn't have done anything else about it. So now Tomek Paragas back up into the net race lead on circuit.
Yeah, and it's really important now for Longuet to get himself ahead of John Evans with that penalty. He'll be desperate to get himself within touching distance of his direct rival. So a big move that from Paragas, and Longuet knows it. So can he try and fight against John Evans? It will be difficult to make the move because, of course, Evans will get DRS to the car in front, as you can see now, but Longuet doesn't want to hang around, and he's gaining and gaining on the back of him as he approaches Ascari, but he won't gain quickly enough, and he will stay in 8th position, or net P3 on the road for now. We still await pit stops of 5 drivers in front of us, but Longuet with another super exit coming out of Ascari. Is he going to be attacking John Evans into the braking zone? Evans covers the inside. Can Longuet try the outside line? No, he cannot do that, and Evans holds on, but you just feel Longuet has got the bit between his teeth at the minute. He's looking very, very strong as they come up to the line now. Paragas holds position. Here comes Longuet pulling alongside Evans. Oh, that was a really late move from Evans, but Longuet using the toe to get alongside Paragas. Will he now take the lead or take P2 away from John Evans? Evans holds the outside line and somehow holds on to net P2. Longuet can't get through. Behind that all happening.
Yeah, meanwhile, Thomas Ronhars managed to get past Shanaka Clay, who's charging at the rear in towards Curva Grande and up towards the Dele Rogier chicane. He's going to have the outside line for the first part, but that's going to turn into the inside. Last time 2 drivers went wheel to wheel, they had some major crash, but Shanaka Clay does that nice and tidily ahead of Thomas Ronhars, re-overtaking the Aston Martin, of course, his former F1 esports team. So a lot of familiar faces facing their old team, essentially. As off the exit and onto the back straight here is Ronhard going to have an opportunity to close to Clay. I don't believe so. I think he's had a bad run out of the exit of the Lesmo corners. And Nicholas Longe, I'm watching him now because he is close to the rear of John Evans, who's been dropped almost by Tomek Parajas, about 6/10 separating them momentarily. Meanwhile, Longe closing and using some of his ERS down the back straight here, as in towards Parabolica, and off the exit. This is going to be prioritised by Longe. He's using up some of the ERS this time. Can he finally get past as off the exit and in towards DRS territory? As here he goes there to the inside line. John Evans has no opportunity to defend. He closes in towards the first corner. Who's going to break latest out of the pair of them? It's going to be Longe on the inside. Evans around the outside, catching the inside curb is Nicholas Longe, and he's lost the move again. An opportunity has been skied by him, and John Evans remains in the net P2, the iron wall of a Mercedes.
Yeah, well, just when it looks like John Evans is going to get overtaken, he just hangs it round the outside, somehow finds the grip and the speed to keep the car in front. It's excellent defending from the Mercedes man, and it's all playing into the hands of Tomek Parajas. Longe in danger of dropping more than a second from Parajas by the time he clears Evans. The gap 8/10 between Evans and Parajas at the minute. It will be more, you feel, by the time Longe gets through. So this is not looking good for the Frenchman at the minute. He needs to do something as Ronhard continues to bring himself into contention. Can he now get a move on Shinaka Clay? Doesn't look like he will be close enough to make a move on Shinaka Clay going into the Ascari chicane, but he is looking very, very strong. Right up behind him, less than 2/10 off the back of the new Williams signing, but not able as they reach the Parabolica to make the move. What about this time round for Nicholas Longe? He's probably been trying quite a bit. He's got 43% of his battery available to him, but this looks like it might be a little bit more of a challenge for him this time round. He looks a little bit further off the back of John Evans. He'll gain and gain, but it won't be enough. Meanwhile, Ronhard very, very close to Shinaka Clay. Is he going to go for it up the inside? He certainly is. That's brave. That's going to be contact into the back of Longe. Thankfully, Longe keeps his car pointing in the right direction. Ronhard went for the aggressive move, and it didn't pay off, and he spins all the way down to 13th place. That was risky. Thankfully for Longe, he can continue.
Yeah, I think Ronhard got a bit impatient there, following behind for a number of laps. Shinaka Clay, and I think I've cursed him once again. I put him as my bet to win, and now the chances of that are looking at nigh on impossible. He's not got any wing damage, and he's not too far off the back of the pack. But I think he was just getting a bit too aggressive there, and yeah, he's paid the price for it. 3 seconds to the rear of Jeffrey Ritchie. So if those guys continue to fight it out like they have been for so long in this race, Ronhard will be back there at some point, but it's going to be very difficult to clear all the traffic. Meanwhile, at the front of the order, Alvaro Caraton leading. I'd imagine those medium runners are going to start to think about their pit stops. So if Thomas Ronhard, he's not in the best position at the moment, because if he's close to these guys on a fresh set of the softs, and indeed if we see 2 runners into the pits, that's Caraton and McLavchich. We'll see where they come out in comparison to the net leaders, as they already passed the Williams and Aston Martin pit box. And oh dear, Thomas Ronhard is getting worse for him because his teammates pitted. He's going to be double stacking. Actually, I think he might be okay. He might just get away with this one here.
Yeah, not working out at all well, and the problem is, I think the early medium runners now on softs might have left themselves with too much to do, because we're all battling so much in the early stages of the race. They've probably made it almost impossible for themselves to get back in the fight, so we'll have to wait and see if they can do that, but it's going to be a lot of work ahead for the likes of Caraton, who of course at one stage found himself in the gravel trap and losing a hatful of places.
No.
So we'll see what we're seeing now.
That's Pedreño. He spun it on his own. I think he went deep in towards the first corner, and he knocked over the polystyrene barriers, and I think one of them might have gotten underneath his car, because he was completely dissettled off the exit when he tried to get the power down for Curve Grande. Spun the car, and yeah, he's already pitted once this race. I think he was involved in that huge melee we saw earlier on in this race. And yeah, it's not getting any better for him. The tyres are so hot for him. He almost spins through Delarogier, but I think he's just about survived. But without any wing damage, I guess, is key, and he's going to be hoping for a safety car.
Yeah, he sure is. Shinaka Clay gets ever so close to the back of Nicholas Longe, coming round the Parabolica as Kieran Lutt and Jack Laverty make their stops. So let's see if Shinaka Clay can do anything about Longe down the straight. If anything, Longe is getting closer to John Evans in front as they come across the line to complete lap number 18 or move on to lap number 18, I should say, and Shinaka Clay not quite close enough, but it's all beginning to shape up quite nicely at the front. Paragis has been reeled back in by Evans, so maybe Longy, maybe he can afford to wait a little bit longer, but he'll want to get through because Evans at the minute is just providing the perfect barrier for Tomek Paragis. That you feel like they need to try and make the move soon.
Yeah, really, Longa is going to be getting frustrated by looking at John Evans. He wants to clear him as soon as possible. And Tomek Paragis as well, it's key to mention, he's got 75% of the battery available to him. John Evans only has 40%, and Longa has 60%. So at the moment, it is looking to be the advantage. Tomek Paragis, he has the resource advantage, and he has track position at the minute. John Evans has been able to get close enough to actually mount a challenge in towards any of the braking zones. That's just going to be playing into the frustration of Longa, Clay, and Luke Smith, who's found himself in this fight, but he almost has a spin out of Ascari. We'll see what they can do in towards turn number 1, because Longa is close. He's about 3/10 adrift from the Mercedes car of John Evans, but he goes pretty aggressive on the brakes into Parabolica, and he might have compromised his exit here, as Leroy Brown, unfortunate, gets a speeding penalty as he makes his pit stop. That means the net race lead is no more. Tomek Paragis P1, John Evans P2, Longa in P3 cannot get close enough to surmount a challenge into towards turn number 1. He remains in 3rd.
Well, there you go then, folks. The order now finally sorts itself out as Alvaro Caraton sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a 1:20.9. He will be flying back through the order now. He'll just be annoyed. He touched the gravel trap earlier on in that battle. So that's cost him dear in terms of maybe trying to win the race, but certainly still a chance of some solid points as we keep an eye on Nicholas Longa, still stuck behind John Evans. You feel like this is the key to the race if he wants to try and fight with Tomek Paragis. He needs to get clear of Evans, unless Evans, of course, like you touched on earlier, can get that penalty removed. But as you touched on, it usually has a slam dunk and usually will result in a time penalty. So yeah, we'll wait and see if he can get it removed, but at the minute he's the perfect stopgap for Tomek Paragis, holding Nicholas Longa at bay, and as well as Shinaka Clay and Luke Smith. Even Stachalik and Ritchie are within 1 second at the minute in this group at the front. 7 cars all on a line, all fighting for victory. Stachalik and Ritchie also, though, have time penalties. And who was that in the background? That was Uzeldrum having another off. Well, it's not been a good afternoon for him, has it? Round he goes on the exit of Ascari. I just seen it in the back of the camera shot. Oh dear, not going to plan for him at all.
I think he went rear end into the wall, so I think he's managed to avoid any damage as John Evans at the front of the order pulled to the inside. I thought he was going for a move as they're all getting so close in the top 5. I think they're all separated by 3/10 of each other. Meanwhile, all the soft runners in behind are going to be closing every single lap, but they've got to make up 10 seconds in 8 laps here, so it's going to be very, very difficult for them to actually take a fight. And meanwhile, Luke Smith is going for the move on Shinaka Clay in towards the De La Rogia chicane. He can't find an avenue to go around this time by, but possibly in towards Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2. He can close to the rear of the Williams in towards the next part of the circuit. Tomek Paragis going to be feeling the pressure from Evans, Longa, Clay, Smith, Stahalek and Ritchie. It's the top 7 all fighting for the lead at the minute, and I think Nicholas Longa is going to be the first man to take a bite at the cherry and try and go for a mover. Is it going to be Luke Smith? The 2 Alfa Romeos getting very racy in this Grand Prix so far, but no moves in towards Ascari, so they continue another lap. They are all getting close to each other, Andy, but no one's making any moves.
Yeah, it's all a bit of a game of chess at the minute, but Longa getting a lot closer, and Paragis maybe under a little bit of pressure too this time round. So we're about to start lap 21. Is it this time the pin that finally is pulled by one of these drivers, and we'll maybe see a move across the line now onto the 21st lap of this Grand Prix. Longa gaining on Evans, Evans gaining on Paragis as they approach the first corner. Here goes John Evans round the outside of Tomek Paragis, unable to find the move there as Paragis covers it off in the braking zone. Longa having a little sniff as well, trying to find a way through as Evans is now under massive pressure from Nicholas Longa. The gap less than 2/10. Evans 6/10 off the back of Paragis, but as they come out of the corner, I don't think Longa will be close enough. By the time they reach the braking zone, he will not be, and the status quo is retained for another lap.
Yeah, it's still continuing on as we've seen for so many laps, and they're just they're tempting fate by looking up the inside, but no one's really been brave enough to be all that committed, and we saw how that worked out for the likes of Ronhar earlier on when he went up the inside of Clay, of course, got caught. So I'd imagine these guys are going to be a little bit careful when applying the brakes. but possibly if they get a good run on the exit of any corner, they could go for an overtake. Tomek Paragic still leading at this point, and he's in one of the best positions out of any driver on the grid. Nicholas Longue currently in P2 at the minute, given that John Evans has a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, but it's not on circuit, and if Longue doesn't clear Evans, he can't get to Paragic, who is really the holy grail at the moment. P1 at the temple of speed, as here goes Longue. He's closing to John Evans. John Evans doesn't really have an opportunity to attack Tomek Paragic in towards the first corner, but once again he's just a little bit too far back, is Nicholas Longue, and he can't find an overtake on John Evans. Possibly if he gets a good exit out of turn number 2, he can try and to mount a move in towards the Dele Roger chicane or through Curva Grande, but again he's closing, but it's just not enough. John Evans still remains here in P2.
Yeah, John Evans staying in P2, just lap after lap. It's just the status quo remains, and Tomek Paragic, the longer he's got John Evans there, the happier he will be. Although we did see John Evans go for that move a few moments ago, but was unable to complete it going into that first corner. So 22 laps then out of 27. Which way is this going? At the minute, Paragic has control, and is he now maybe trying to break? He's got the gap up to 8 tenths. Let's have a look at his telemetry. 71%, still plenty of ammunition in his pocket, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're all continuing on here for what is the 22nd time through Ascari, where the number of laps in this race are dwindling. So they've got to get a move on, really. They want to fight for these positions. And Nicholas Longue, I think finally he's going to see an opportunity. He's about 3 tenths behind John Evans, and if he gets a good exit out of Parabolica, he could see the opportunity. And indeed he is. He's closing. But again, John Evans is just about pulling away from the Frenchman in the Alfa Romeo and defending to the inside, giving up some of the toe, actually, is Evans. I don't think he wanted to attack Paragic this time, Byers. There they go into towards turn number 1. Again, no moves.
Here's one here though. Alvaro Canaton makes the move on Miklavsic. He's up the inside. What about Jack Laverty? Meanwhile, up the inside he goes on Kieran Latt and gets on that inside curb. Takes a big slide and loses around 2 seconds off the back of Kieran Latt. So that was not how they planned that one. So Alvaro Canaton into the top 8, the championship leader. Latt battling in there as well with Miklavsic, but at the minute Canaton, the man on the move, 8 seconds to reel in. I think that's as good as it will get for Canaton, unless he can get within the range of those time penalties up in front. Ritchie has a 5-second penalty, so he might be able to reel that in. Statulik is 3. That might be a tall order for Canaton. We'll have to wait and see, but it's beginning to hot up at the front, as you can see now. Now, what will happen on this lap as the laps tick by ever more, and Nicholas Longue is certainly the closest I've seen him to the back of John Evans, who is also very close to Tomek Paragic. So, well, at the end of lap 23 and at the start of lap 24, will we see the pin being pulled by any one of the front three as they come across the line once again? Paragic in the lead, but here comes John Evans in the Mercedes. Paragic feels the need to defend the inside. Evans round the outside. He should be through by the time they get to the braking zone, and he is through. John Evans into the lead, but he does have that time penalty. Longue now, will he sense an opportunity to have a go on Paragic and Evans as they make their way through Curva Grande on lap 24 out of 27. Longue tucked into the slipstream behind Paragic. Is he close enough? He decides better of it, and Evans is in the lead as Ronhard gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pits.
Yeah, he's retired. He's out of this race, but it's crucial for Paragic that he's managed to stay ahead of Nicholas Longue, and now surely he's going to try and put that car of the Mercedes car in between himself and the Alfa Romeo as closing down the back straight in towards Ascari. Here it goes. Oh no, actually they're all backing out of each other, and this is just going to create a concertina effect. John Evans doesn't want the lead, neither does Paragic. I think Longue might see an opportunity to potentially overtake the Alpine as in towards Parabolica off the exit of Ascari. He's close to the Alpine. This hasn't worked for the pole as in towards the braking zone. Here they go at the 50-meter mark. It is going to be John Evans leading from Tomek Paragic, and Nicholas Longue in third. Janaka Clay is trying to get in the fight as well, and it might actually be Longue going from attacking to now defending from the Williams car, because off the exit and on towards lap number 25 here in Italy, it's going to be Tomek Paragic going for the lead of the race, and here it goes in towards turn number 1. Can Longue find an opportunity? It's actually going to be Luke Smith around the outside of Janaka Clay as a slide from the Frenchman as off the exit here, wheel to wheel goes Luke Smith and Clay. Here they go through Curva Grande, flat worked out through here. Can they find a move on Nicholas Longue as in towards the Telerogier chicane? It's going to be Luke Smith on the inside of Shanaka Clay. Into the braking zone they go, wheel to wheel, off the exit of the corner. Oh, he's been forced off, and now Sahalek is trying to get into this fight, and my game has crashed, Andy.
Oh, incredible. What a time for it to crash. They almost crashed as well, but they somehow made it through. Lesmo 1 and 2. Luke Smith P5. Shanaka Clay still in P4. And things are getting very interesting here with Stachulek in the battle too. Stachulek really getting his elbows out. Tried to go up the inside. Didn't quite work out. And there they go through Ascari. Thinks better of the move. Dan, hopefully we can get you back in a moment's time. But wow, what a race this is turning into. With just 1.5 or 2.5 laps to go. Incredible. Tomek Paradis leads, John Evans second, Longue third, Shanaka Clay and Luke Smith and Stachulek and Jeffrey Ritchie all in a massive line, but it's starting to break. The top three moving clear of the rest as they continue to battle like crazy. Paradis opens that gap up to 7 and a bit tenths now over John Evans, and it's 7 tenths to Longue as well, so it's a little bit calmer there. Not though if you're Piotr Stachulek, who's trying to go round the outside of Luke Smith. He won't manage that, and he'll stay in P6. So as it settles down, Dan, are you able to get back in, or do you need an invite?
I've got an invite from Ruben Pedreño, which is very thankful. He's actually racing at the minute, so that's really nice from him to give me the invite. But yeah, I'm getting back in the lobby here.
Yep, good stuff. We'll get you back in a moment for what will be an exciting climax to this Grand Prix. Lap 26 then, out of 27. It's looking good for Paradis because John Evans, of course, has that penalty. So, Paradis, he was happy to give up the lead to John Evans. He got it back, though, a lap later, just when Longue was getting ready to pounce. At the minute, it's looking good for the Polish driver to take the victory here. John Evans, it might not have been intentional, but he certainly helped out his rival, his arch rival in the Challenger Series here tonight. Hasn't he, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. Tomek Paradis has now just got 1.5 laps left in this race until he is crowned the winner. I've managed to get back into this session, so that is very lovely that I've been able to get back in here. I might have actually crashed everyone's deltas, unfortunately, so hopefully that's not the case, as off the exit of Parabolica for what is the penultimate time. Tomek Paradis leading from John Evans. Longue doesn't have an opportunity to get close to the back of John Evans, this time by Cat Evans. Possibly got the inside into the first corner, not quite, as Stachulek, and they're all fighting up further behind in towards turn number 1. I don't know where to look at this moment in time as they're all getting themselves situated for the final lap of this Italian Grand Prix. Paradis surely at this point, Andy, he's got no challengers here.
Yeah, it should be good now. It should be done and dusted for him. You would feel John Evans with that penalty is going to, really help out Nicholas Longue here, who just never got a sniff at that victory. Evans with that early pit stop, getting ahead of Longue, has really, really helped him out, and it's looking good for Tomek Paradis. Evans will be ruining that time penalty in the pits, but it is what it is. You need to make sure that you slow down for the line. He didn't, and Paradis looks like he's going to complete the job. He took the pole position. He was without doubt the man on top, as Evans now gets another time penalty, and that really has, and it will, shunt him right down the order. It's worked out brilliantly for Paradis. He stuck the car on pole. He was sensational in qualifying 3, and here the Polish driver is going to round the final corner here in Monza, and the Alpine driver comes up to the line on pole, and now it's the victory. Paradis crosses the line, wins here brilliantly for Alpine. Shanaka Clay gets second, Longue gets third, so that must have been a late change there. Luke Smith is fourth, and Stachulek's come across the line in P5. What a race. Tomek Paradis, the man on top, and he was superb throughout, Dan.
Yeah, actually, Clay just pipped Longue in towards Ascari. John Evans decided to finish the race in the pit lane. I actually think he still could have got some points. He got a final 3-second time penalty, but I think he might have been within range to at least get 9th or 10th here. So I don't know why he's thrown away a points paying position, but hey, I guess that helps out the likes of Keelan Lutt, Jack Laverty, all those guys who were on the soft compound tyre, and they weren't able to get close enough. Also a heartbreak for Caraton. He missed out on 6th position by just 1/10 of a second on Jeffrey Ritchie, who of course had, I think, 5 seconds to his name. So the alt strat didn't quite work out today.
Yeah, it didn't quite work out, mainly because they were all battling like crazy, wasn't it, in the early stint. So it really made it difficult to get anything to work. But I've just been told in the chat that Nicholas Longue is now the championship leader by 4 points. For some quick maths, from our very own Luke Humphries. Thank you very much, Luke. So Longy now takes the championship lead by finishing third, but it's not about Longy today. It's about this man who stands on top of the famous Monza podium. Tomek Paradzis takes the victory here at Monza in round 7 of the championship. What a fantastic performance, pole position and the victory. What a win from the Alpine driver. He beats Shinaka Clay Williams, new signing. They've got a great driver in him in P2, and Nicholas Longy comes home in third on the podium. What a fantastic race that was. Tomek Paradzis, the man on top. He wins then from Shinaka Clay in second, Nicholas Longy in third. Luke Smith, a solid effort in the second Alfa Romeo in P4, just missing out on the podium. Stachulek, he was fifth, with Jeffrey Ritchie in sixth. Alvaro Carreton recovered from that poor qualifying to P7, but concedes the championship lead. Primoz Miklavsic, he was P8 in the Aston Martin. Jack Laverty ninth, and Keaton Lutt rounding out the top 10, grabbing a point. John Evans, he was 11th, with Tom Martinez 12th, Leroy Brown, Ulas Osjeldrim and Ruben Pedreño. The drivers who failed to see the flag: Thomas Ronhart, Lenny Pepinter, Tino Nakarunen, Iker Beena, who was in a bit of a controversial incident, we'll say the least, and Liam Parnell, who of course made contact at the Parabolica early on in the race. So that was it then. Tomek Paradzis, the man on top. A fantastic race and performance from him, Dan. He is on top. Dan, have you got your camera on?
For some reason, it's not appearing on my Discord here.
Okay.
I'm trying to fix this.
No worries. We'll get that in a moment's time. So for now, we'll move over to the screen, and hopefully we will get to hear from some of the drivers. Hopefully Dan can get his camera on. We can see his lovely face in a few moments' time, I hope. Let's see if we can get that sorted in a moment's time. But yeah, fantastic race, Dan, nonetheless. Really good performance from Tomek Paradzis. Let's see if we can get it working now. There we go. Oh, maybe not. It's loading. Oh, well. I don't know what's going on. I think we'll just have to sit in the interview stream.
Discord quickly, and then it should work out.
Okay, let me just tap into the Discord, and hopefully we will have you back. Come on, Discord. There we go. And now we'll go back to the Streamlabs, and we'll press number 3. Dan back with us. We do. Hi, Dan. Good to see you. Yeah, welcome back. So, Dan, great race today. Tomek Paradzis, got to say, he was the star throughout, wasn't he? Best in qualifying, and he never really looked in much danger in the race as soon as John Evans got that penalty.
Yeah, he was fantastic throughout this race, and he was really untouchable throughout most of it, of course. He only lost position like 1 or 2 times, and he was just consistent throughout. Managed to stretch an advantage at the beginning of the race, of course, was reeled back in, but he never gave up enough ground for those guys to really surmount a challenge and overtake him, and I really do respect that in Paradzis, and I think he's earned that win on merit today.
Yeah, he has. A really good performance from him. He looked the strongest out there without a shadow of a doubt. John Evans, though, he'll be a bit disappointed. Good chance for him to try and win the race today, but that 5-second penalty cost him dear, and then they followed it up with a 3-second penalty before basically retiring in the pits on the final lap. Didn't quite work out for him. He'll be a bit frustrated, Dan, because that was an opportunity missed, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think he wasn't too happy by the end of the race. I've been seeing in Instagram chats and stuff in Twitter chats that he was actually just roasting John by the end of it. So yeah, I mean, it'd be good to get him in for an interview, and possibly we could see we could hear his side of things. But I don't think anyone's joined the channel, unfortunately. Yeah,
it doesn't look like we're going to have anyone at the minute. Hopefully, someone will decide to join us in the chat. But Dan, I've got to ask you, who would you shout for your driver of the day today? There's a few contenders. Carreton came charging back through the field, didn't he? But I'd say Paradzis, he was probably the best performer out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go by you know, I think it's Paradzis. I'm trying to justify, why I'm picking the same as you, but I think you just can't go with anyone different. Tomek Paradzis, he was really on form today, and I think he's deserved that win more than anyone today. So I'd say driver of the day, Tomek Paradzis.
Yeah, it was a really good performance from him. It did look, though, like early on that Nicholas Longy might make a real fist of it. He got ahead of John Evans. He closed that DRS gap up, but I think the moment Longy lost the race was when John Evans rejoined the race in front of him after the pit stops, wasn't it? Really, it made it difficult for him to get anywhere near Tomek Paragas, didn't it?
Yeah, it was just so hard for anyone really to attack Paragas today. You know, he was just so consistent throughout the entirety of it, and I know he's going to be very pleased with how he performed today.
Well, I can tell you now, we do have someone waiting for interview, and it is the new Williams man, Shanaka Clay. So let's drag him in then. Shanaka Clay joining us in the commentary box. Good to have you in for interview, Shanaka. Congratulations, really good performance in the end, coming home in second place. We actually missed your final lap move on Nicholas Longy, so talk us through that one. We missed it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the pace was picking up quite a lot at the end. Tomek bolted with John, and the gap started opening up a hit between him and Nico, and it was teetering around that 1 second. He got the DRS down the main straight, but he was completely out of battery. So I held on to a little bit of my battery just in case he fell out for the second DRS zone running down to Ascari, and fortunately for me, he did. And with that extra little bit of battery, we managed to get past him before the corner, but he very nearly came back at us into the last corner as we were both completely out of battery, and I think I was a little bit heavy on wings. So it was a close one, but glad to get past him in the end because we were sat staring at his rear wing for a lot of that race.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was very satisfying, being a P2.
Yeah, good result in the end because the qualifying maybe didn't quite go to plan. I think, what was it, P8 on the grid? So a bit of a difficult one in the race to try and come back through the field from that kind of position because obviously the slipstream in the ERS, the DRS, it's so hard to come through and you're all on the same strategy. But I think after qualifying, you'd definitely have taken that result, wouldn't you?
Oh, 100%. I think I was definitely very angry about the last lap in quali. It completely bottled it. Missed a gear into the first chicane, and that chucked at least a tenth and a half, and it just sort of fell to pieces from there. So head was down after that lap, but we picked ourselves up, went for it again in the race, and we picked up through the battles, and we just held our own until the melee at the end, basically.
Yeah, and what about the championship situation as well? It's getting a bit more interesting now, closing up a little after Karaton's poor qualifying, and I think he only came home 7th, so you've gained some ground there. Longy now takes the championship lead, but that crucial move at the end, you don't know how important that could be. It could be very important come the end of the season, but it brings you firmly back into the championship picture as well, doesn't it, as we get ever closer to that halfway stage?
Yeah, for sure. I think the three of us, I don't know what the gap to 4th or anything is, but it was very critical for us to trying to start outscore these guys, and that last lap move, 3-point swing, yeah, as you say, could prove critical at the end of the championship because we have a little bit of ground to make up after a few unfortunate rounds. So hopefully this is the start of a good run of races.
Yeah, well, the championship really beginning to take shape. Where do we head next? Is it Bahrain, then Mexico, the next couple? How do you feel going into those two, Shanaka? Are they tracks that you enjoy and run well at?
Not particularly.
Oh, okay.
This is the first I'm hearing of the calendar. I never know what the next race is until a few days before. So thank you for that. Thank you for enlightening me. But yeah, I mean, we'll come in with it the same approach as we do every race. Do our best and see where we end up. It's not going to be everyone's favourite track, so we'll try and do a good couple of races there.
Yeah, well, I'm just making sure that I'm right before you take my word for it. I'm right, it is Bahrain, and then we do head to Mexico after that. But Danny, any questions for Shanaka after that fantastic recovery from qualifying through to P2?
No questions from me, so to say, but again, a really well done for how your race has gone. Just to get confirmation of where you sit in the point standings, it's 90 for Nico, he leads the way, 4 points ahead of Alvaro on 86, and you're on 67 points. So there is ground to be made up. It's your second podium of the season. I'm really excited to see what you can do in this one.
Yeah, let's hope for many more. Let's close that gap.
Yeah, and one more thing, Shanaka, before you go. Some big news during the week. You've made the move across to Williams. We're so used to seeing you in the Aston Martin out in the racetrack. Made the move across to Williams. You must be excited about that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think it's very weird for people watching me to suddenly make that switch midway through the game. Strange for my viewers to start watching all of a sudden blue exterior to everything, but I'm very excited to take on a new challenge. Plenty of racing coming up towards the end of the year, hopefully, and maybe even before then. But you know, as far as it goes in league racing, I'm very excited to step into that car, and yeah, hopefully get it on the podium a few more times.
Okay, well, looking forward to it. It's a perfect start. Good result tonight, getting onto the podium, and thanks for taking the time out to speak to us in the interview.
Thank you, guys.
See you later. Great to have you, Shinaka. Really great to hear from Shinaka Clay there, who come through brilliantly from 8th in the grid. I mean, he said it himself, he was delighted to come away with that result, Dan. I mean, it did not look likely, did it, after qualifying? We know how difficult it is to come through the field in a track like Monza, but he did it well and charged through the field. And we gave it to Tomek Baradzic, our driver of the day, but Shinaka Clay is a fair shout as well for driver of the day, isn't he?
Absolutely. I think you definitely could put him in the mix. He was very impressive today. Kept it nice and clean throughout this race entirely. So, you know what? I think we can definitely put him in the picture for driver of the day. 1 and 2 on circuit. Baradzic and Clay certainly a cut above the rest, I'd say.
Yeah, fantastic performances from them two, and of course they were the drivers to come home first and second. But that's it from us. No more drivers appear to be jumping in to the chat for an interview, so that means it's it. If you've enjoyed what you've seen tonight, folks, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the WOR channel. You know, we've got plenty of action coming up across all our platforms and all our tiers over the coming weeks and the remainder of this season. And be sure to join us again next week. We're here every Sunday night at 7 PM UK time for the action. So if you get subscribed to the channel, you'll be aware every time we go live for a stream. But that's all from myself, Ginger Andy, and Dan Field. Be sure to join us again next week as we head to Bahrain for the race in the desert. Goodbye.
On his debut, Jarno Uppbeat wins at Spa.
It's Martinez in Montreal. David beats Goliath.
It's a true underdog story. John Evans wins at Mexico.
And it's Super Sam Corby who takes the PlayStation Championship.
FRA Ronhard takes his first WOR championship. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jake Benham is a two-time WOR champion.
Stop it! Around the outside of Baradzic! Line shadow! His contact to get Rodha is around.
Melanie, surely is going to win here at Abu Dhabi. He does!
16 races across 5 continents. From Brazil to Belgium and Bahrain to Britain. Soon this story starts. Across 3 platforms, hundreds will begin the quest. The quest in search of glory and the right to be called a WOR champion. Lights out, and we're racing in Season 12.